Welcome to a Trucker's Mind podcast. I'm Eddie McGee.
It's your boy K Things.
We're back, man. Episode 189.
Yes, sir.
And happy Halloween to all those. We're doing this today on Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I guess say something scary, Keith.
What they call it, in the Latino culture, the Dia de
Muertos.
Yeah.
Dia de los Muertos.
Day of the Dead or whatever. Yeah, something like that. So
you gotta say something scary, Keith. Come on, man. It's Halloween.
I got nothing, man.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
One night on a stormy afternoon, we all met around a campfire. We used our marshmallows and put them over the hot fire. The sogginess from the wet rain quickly dampened the marshmallows, and we heard a tampering in the forest. It sounded like some type of a creature out there. My Uncle Jimmy said, "Don't worry about it. Let's get some shut-eye." So we all went to sleep. Then all of a sudden we hear that same noise. We look up. It's a huge monster with big eyes. And he said, "My name is," and he bit my head off, and that's the end of the story.
Once upon a time, we need the light. Hold on.
Oh, shit.
It's epic.
Yeah, you got to get the light.
Once upon a time, there were two black men from Bakersfield, California. Grew up 5 minutes away from one another. The scariest part of this whole narrative is that they both were broke niggas growing up.
Broke niggas.
Something that was very normal to them, but to the average middle-class American, it would be very frightening. I'm talking about using the oven as a heater. Lighting candles when the PG&E wasn't paid. Holes in shoes. No real holes, but holes in shoes.
The devil.
I don't know where I was going with that.
Oh, that shit was real, yo. If you don't know what pour is unless you didn't use your fucking oven as a heater to dry your shirt off. If you ever had to wash your clothes in the sink, like you ever took a shirt and washed it, bro, that is like that. You in the trenches there.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, man.
I remember shit. Whether it be noodles, there's a certain memories of the trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Let's get right into it, man.
Alrighty.
Recently, activist by the name of Ashley Marie Preston. Matter of fact, let's not do that. Let me go right to the article. Right? I'm not as educated on it as I should be, but let's go ahead and take a read at it. Trans activists who staged Netflix walkout against Dave Chappelle special called out for old anti-Asian tweets. In the case of Instant Karma, the trans activist who was made media headlines for staging a walkout at Netflix against Dave Chappelle's comedy special has been called out for her old racist tweets. Ashley Marie Preston came under fire while planning a walkout with Netflix employees over Chappelle's jokes about the trans and LGBT plus communities in his latest comedy special, The Closer. Despite Netflix CEO Ted Sarandos apologizes and pleased to reach common ground with his staffers, a group of upset workers walked out of the headquarters in Los Angeles and took to the streets last week. During the walkout, Preston blasted Sarandos as being out of touch with the people of color around him whom she feels don't understand intersectionality, Insider reports. I think ultimately we're up against a new emergence of hate economy, and there's this manipulation of algorithmic science that distorts the way that we perceive ourselves and others, Preston said during the rally. And I think that companies like Netflix, Facebook, and Instagram, they play into it and they monetize it in recent years. Preston has made a name for herself in politics, serving as a campaign surrogate for Senator Elizabeth Warren in California's during Warren's run for president in 2020. But the ironic turn of events, Preston is being called out for 2019 controversial tweets. It's not actually in 2019. She got called out for it in 2019, but they reemerged now. But they happened in 2011. And then she posted on a tweet, taking accountability for the past, saying rooted in the present, absorbing lessons for the future. Some dude, I don't know who it was, Matt Orefla or whatever, comedy. The protests accusing comedians of LGBT phobia, hate speech, and violence is led by Warren Surrogate, who threatened violence against an ass fuckboy, Dick Ryder, banished that maggot fucker, and bragged of performing actual violence against his Asian bitch's head. That's what's literally on the tweets. All right, so this is what I'll say. We said it on this many times, is you should not throw rocks if you live in a glass house. And this is what I don't agree with. I don't agree with the fact that you could go back on old tweets and kind of like concurrently judge a person's whole existence for something they tweeted 11 years ago. Hell, when I was in trucking school, one of my coolest friends there was a dude that I didn't realize he had a swastika on his arm until he told me about it. And that didn't really change who he was to me because he was a cool person, right? So you can't always measure a person by their past, right? But I will say this. Don't be the motherfucker that's turning into Martin Luther King all of a sudden and you want to cancel him when you got real issues. Like you got a whole slew of talking bad about Asians. Real bad. And it's not just Asians, it's Mexicans, Asians. It was homophobic shit on her posts. And I'm just like, and I don't want to judge her, but like, yo, you trying to cancel a comedian and you've done way worse.
Yeah. I think the idea is like we should all get the grace to learn and change and all those things. Because if you're this person, and especially the amount of they're not even trying to. I don't even think they're trying to have like a learning experience with Dave Chappelle.
No.
And I think even he said, and he did it in a joking way, he said that he would meet with them under certain conditions and guidelines and stuff like that. But I genuinely think that he wouldn't mind having a conversation. But at the same time, it's one of those things where like, you try to cancel me initially.
Yeah.
Like you weren't, I don't even think they were trying to have a conversation first. They're trying to get a special removed. And then also with and I'm not a trans person, so I can't really speak to what they would or wouldn't be offended by. But from my vantage point, being a heterosexual male, what I seen, like you're missing the entire point, and that was one of the things that Dave Chappelle said in his rebuttal. He was like, "I don't mind meeting with you as long as I get to pick the place and time, and then also, I will meet with you if you have watched the entirety of the special."
That's a great point.
And I think that the majority of the people that are very mad and angry are people that haven't even watched the entire special. But that's separate from, her tweets and whatnot.
No, but it's important. It is important because it adds a level of context to it, meaning like you never took the time to really try to watch what you're being so crucial about. In fact, you're creating narratives instead of actually watching the whole episode or the whole special,
Yeah, I think, sorry to cut you off. I remember, this is kind of like a parallel universe, but when we did our little short film that we did, and I submitted it to the Road Reel competition, and basically in the film there's an implied suicide thing, but our objective was to get people to watch what they say on these platforms. That's like the theme of the film. But they rejected the film because they said that it, suicide is a very touchy subject, and they were saying like that this could trigger suicidal thoughts and whatever the case may be.
Bullshit too.
Yeah. So the ironic thing is that there's this movie, the movie A Star Is Born with Lady Gaga and Dave Chappelle in there, and I forget the dude's name. Dang it, I wish I knew his name. But yeah, so the idea of the movie is this like super successful musician, and he's battling like addiction and I don't think he's doing a little bit of drugs, but he's primarily an alcoholic. And in the movie, he commits suicide. And then the movie goes on to win all these awards for best screenplay and all the best supporting actor and all these different things.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where I think that a lot of people kind of they're too, what the Pharrell said this once. He said people are too zoomed in. Like they're not actually looking at the full spectrum of what's going on. So if you're too zoomed in, you'll look at Dave Chappelle's special and you'll be like, oh, he's making fun of trans people for an hour. And then, you're not even getting the full nuance of his friendship with Daphne. And you're not getting the full nuance of him just trying to, him growing even in his relationship with Daphne. So.
Yeah, but you have to understand, this is an element no one talks about. What Dave Chappelle is doing is a form of privilege. And what I mean by that is Dave Chappelle has built up his star big enough to even have these conversations or say these jokes. If you're a new comedian and you get up on stage and you do exactly what Dave Chappelle did, people won't even laugh at your jokes because you have not, your star is not big enough. Yeah. For example, you talked about like it was an implied suicide when we did that short film.
Yeah.
And the biggest issue with it is it wasn't Dwayne Rock Johnson doing it because they would allow it.
I'm not Lady Gaga or Dave Chappelle.
So since you're not that person, you won't be given the platform to do it. Here's another great example. This is no slight to The Rock, but The Rock just came out with and collaborated with
Tech Nine.
Tech Nine is somebody else, right? And it was a decent song, wasn't great, but it's been number one on all these charts and all of this stuff. And it's not because the song is great. It's a popularity contest. Dwayne Rock Johnson's on the song, and that's why it's so fucking massive.
Yeah.
Right? It's a massive song because of that. But if I made a song comparable with a couple other people, it wouldn't make it out of Bakersfield. You get what I'm getting at now?
Yeah.
So
The Rock.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. And and a lot of people don't realize it, but your star has to be big enough to even do this. But
Bradley Cooper was the guy I was thinking about earlier.
Oh, Bradley Cooper. Okay. Yeah. And to reel it all in, man, in regards to this whole thing here is like, what this proves more than anything is this normalizes LGBT more than anything. Here's why. It proves that LGBT people are no different than anyone else. They are the same as everyone else. There's pieces of shit in all groups. That's what it proves.
Yeah.
It proves
they got to embrace that, though.
They got to embrace it, that they're pieces of the shit just like all the rest of us. Just like
I think we would like them more if it wasn't like a cancel thing, but it's like, hey, like I was telling you, about my cousin and whatnot. Like he's a gay man, he's married and the whole nine. But he told me that he used to be very homophobic.
Yeah,
exactly. So if people were, more people that are trans people or queer or whatever, if they came out and was like, yo, when I was in high school, when I was in junior high, I tried to fit in. I was running away from how I really felt. And I was, I was quoting lyrics from Eminem. I was calling people maggots and all this different stuff. I was playing all the pause games and all that. But now I'm more mature and I really have discovered myself. We'll be like, yo, that's cool. Like I was the same way. And I'm not necessarily part of the LGBTQ community, but I understand, I embrace them, I support them, and that's what it is.
You gotta allow people to catch up too. Yeah. Sometimes we're mad at people because they're not at the same exact place as us. Meaning, with your current information with the current information I have now that I know about the world and myself and the maturity and blah, 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 I could get mad at Eddie McGee from 12 years ago, right? But truth be told, he's not even in a space yet for me to be tripping on him.
Yeah.
Right? We don't even allow people to grow or evolve. And when they do evolve, we want to say that, they haven't, like, look at what he tweeted 12 years ago. They're still that fucking person. It's like, no, this just proves that LGBT and trans or whatever, they're not victims all the time. They're piece of the shit like everyone else. They're piece of the shit like black, white, Mexican, all of them. This normalized trans people more than anybody. Because here's the problem, too. Some dude went to the protest and had a sign that said, "We like Dave," right? They took the sign, broke it, and then when he was left with a wooden stump, they kicked him out because they said it was a weapon. And they broke the fucking sign. I can't make this up. I can't make it up. But the thing about it is this. What people need to understand is just because you have an opinion about trans people that's not detrimental. Like if I say like, yo, I've never said, man, the trans people tripping. I can't tell trans people how to feel. That ain't my job. My job is not even my job. My thing is, it's all about perspective. You got people who are stifling someone's amendment right to exercise a protest just like them, taking a sign and breaking it. And these are the people that are supposed to be oppressed.
Yeah.
So it's like, and by the way, I'm not making a statement saying that there's no form of hatred towards trans gay people, because there is. There are some people that's gay and get beat up just for being gay. Okay? But it's the simple fact that in all backgrounds, people are pieces of shit. Everywhere. If you said that, I'm sure there's some trans people that are pieces of shit, they would call you homophobic. They call you transphobic. No. You got to remember, at the core of a person, that's who they are. You know, everything on the surface, that's just surface level shit. I'm a black man, but to my core, I'm a human. And as human beings, we all have these behaviors and ways that we are hypocritical. We have ways that we contradict ourselves. We have ways where we're flat out nasty.
Or we just mature.
Yeah, or we mature, but I'm just saying we have all of these things that we do, regardless of where we feel we line up. And that's just what I really took from this, is that the same people throwing rocks at Dave Chappelle is doing nastier shit.
Yeah, that's the same thing that happened with Chrissy Teigen.
Yeah, Chrissy Teigen's another one.
Yeah, I think also, like, when you're an extreme version of anything, this is always going to be a possibility.
Right.
Like, you gotta be squeaky clean if you want to be this person that is just out canceling everybody.
Right.
Because this is a game for some people. I think that people really scrub celebrity tweets, really scrub anybody with some sort of name. I think they scrub their tweets and their posts, and they're probably going through their Facebook, their YouTube, all these different things, and looking for. And there's a way where you can. There's a way you don't literally have to look at all the tweets. You can. There's an algorithm on Twitter. It's not even. It's like I think it is an algorithm. It's just like a formula that you can put in, and you could put like keywords. So you'll put like a username and a semicolon or something, and then you'll put the keyword in there. So like, say I don't know that person's name, but say we put that person's name, their username in there, and then you'll put the word gay. And then it'll pop up all the tweets that, if they do have tweets that may have the word gay in it. And then they'll look at it and be like, oh, he said such and such about gay people back in whatever year. So you could literally just use these keywords to search what anybody has ever said about certain things. So it's just crazy. I think what a lot of people, and what I even did, just knowing the times, and not necessarily because I believe that, or like, I believe that way now, I'm trying to hide from something. I just know that the reaction to some of my older tweets, it won't be taken as like, oh, he's mature now. He doesn't think that way anymore. He doesn't disrespect people in that way anymore. It's just going to be taken as like, this is what he did in 2009, or this is what he did in 2010, and we should hold him accountable in 2026 or 2025 or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I think we need to do a better job at how we get out in front of these things too. Like, if let's say I insulted somebody, let's say I talked about LeBron James' hairline 10 years ago or something, and they'd be like, it shows, you and LeBron had a conversation, but it shows here 12 years ago that you talked about his hairline. I'm like, yes, that's how I felt at the time. I felt LeBron James' hairline was fucked up 12 years ago, and that's why I posted that. Was it right? No, but let's move on now.
It might be a whole community of people that don't like being disrespected about their hair. Like, it may be a whole phobia community.
And I could snap back and say, fuck all y'all, because I cut mine off. I was actually man enough to go bald and cut my fucking hair off instead of having a patched up hairline like y'all. How about you take a page from my book and cut that fucking ratty hairline you got off? Right? Yeah. So I'm a part of the no hair community.
Yeah.
Plus community. No hair.
That's comedy.
Yeah, man. But it's one of those things, man. I don't want to keep beating this over with the same point, but like we have to do a better job. Like, not only that too, we also need to stop posting everything on social media. Everything's not meant for social media. Sometimes your thoughts are meant for you or meant for a conversation. You don't have to fucking tweet this shit on there, because before we even had Twitter, we talked.
Yeah,
we talked, and in that conversation, that's where everything stayed. Mm-hmm. But now coaches, owners are getting fucking fired for emails.
Yeah.
Like, and this shit going way back, and it's like, yo, this is a perfect case of the internet working against us. Mm-hmm. We thought we could just use, we don't even know the full capabilities of all the technology we've been using almost the last 20 years.
I remember, like, there was once where it was like the CEO of BlackBerry or something like that. He was on Twitter, and he was tweeting, and on Twitter it says such and such from an Android or such and such from BlackBerry or whatever. But it was a series of tweets, and he was tweeting from an iPhone.
Oh,
so it kind of going to your point. Like, I think the internet has like revealed the person that we've been trying to hide for, or kind of keep behind closed doors.
It's inadvertent, obviously. Like, the internet is not purposely trying to bust people. Mm-hmm. It's just that people have found ways and mediums to expose people, right? But the truth be told, it's like, man, like, I don't really give a damn about Ashley Marie Preston and them old tweets. Yes, they was problematic. Yeah, they was racist, this and that. But can we please be fucking honest and stop acting like we've always been this righteous person our whole lives? We've all said some problematic shit. We've all probably said some racist shit before. We've probably all been malicious about the shit we meant to say about another race or person or gay or whatever, right? Don't act like you haven't said it. You may have said it in your mind. You may have said it to your friends. You may have said some racist, homophobic shit to a group of people that felt exactly like you. So we need to stop the political correctness. It needs to stop. If it was a gay tweet, which it wasn't, because I've barely been using Twitter for like over a year now. That's it. If it was, I would say, yes, like, that is a homophobic tweet. I don't feel that way no more. That was wrong. And guess what? It'd be like, we can't get in a place where we keep apologizing for it, though. And the reason why I say, look, I'm sorry for who it may have hurt, and you say that one apology and you move the fuck on.
You can't come back 2 years later and be like, hey, this tweet is circulating again.
Yeah, it's like, yo, like, you gotta be big. Like, we have to stop acting like we just are walking in line with Jesus.
Yeah, that's the thing for me is like, I understand that I have changed, and I think that, the people around you would understand that too. But the thing is, the internet doesn't know you personally. Even if you're a person that puts out, certain content and stuff like that. Even a guy like Jay-Z, I'm sure he got some homophobic slurs and some of his music. Oh, definitely his music? Oh, yeah. Yeah, but in his last album, he has a whole song about how his mom was hiding her sexuality and how proud of her he is now and all these different things. But people will still find a way to bring up the old and quote it and, make highlight reels of all the homophobic stuff that he may have said. So for me, I know that, and I wish the world was a certain way. But for me, I know that I don't even want to deal with that. I don't want to be, we get a deal with Spotify or something like that, and all of a sudden these old tweets start circulating, and it's just more conversation that you have to have unnecessarily. And then, you might have CEOs questioning you like, hey, what are you going to do about these tweets? And then you got to have these public, these PR people and all. It's just like, delete it. First
of all, let's be very clear. These companies don't give a fuck if you homophobic, racist. They don't give a fuck. All they care about is the actual content.
Because Morgan Wallen album's still selling.
Yes, Morgan Wallen right back. He said, nigga, we talked about this. We predicted it. Like, he could say nigger 20 times and it's not going to hurt anybody. He's going to sell records again. Yeah. I wasn't never trying to cancel Morgan Wallen. I never really gave a fuck. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, he gave his little politically correct apology and he's back off and he's doing his thing. More power to him.
He'll be at Rolling Loud next year.
He'll be he'll be doing his thing. But Damn it, I forgot what I was going to say. You hit me with the goddamn Morgan Wallen. No, man, I just think we do a bad job overall with how we handle things. Like you talked about earlier when you said like the road reel about how you shouldn't talk about the suicide because it triggers this and that, and the third. It's like when we deal with things like teen pregnancy and we won't put condoms in schools, right? We won't put them in schools because, you know, we're not trying to promote kids having sex. And it's like, motherfucker, people going to be fucking regardless. Teenagers are going to fuck with a condom or without one. Yeah. But you say that teen pregnancy is a problem, but you're not willing to fix it with real world like applications. You rather say we shouldn't promote sex for kids.
Yeah.
It's the same way when it comes to things like this, we'll be like, oh, well, you know, we just look at it so fucked up. I had a better point, but I kind of lost it. But it's just really annoying, man.
God dang Morgan Wallen.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think...
this is what I was going to say. Sorry.
Right, go ahead.
You make yourself less legitimate when you're a person leading the charge against someone else, and then your shit pops up, and it was worse than the motherfucker that you was actually trying to get canceled.
Yeah.
So now it's almost like back in the day before Twitter when you had Martin Luther King, he's leading the charge, and then they found out he was dating white women back in the day.
Yeah, and he was cheating on his wife.
That made him, I guess, less relevant to a lot of black people. Was black people starting to call Martin Luther King Uncle Tom's and all that. You guys probably don't know about this, but it's real history.
Yeah.
They's calling him Uncle Tom's and a sellout and all of this shit.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I mean,
it was I think as far as the Martin Luther King situation goes, it was one of those things. I think that the government was just looking for a chink in the armor. You know
that was racist.
And they found
that's racist what you just said. Asians do not make armor. Asians do not make armor.
God dang.
Go ahead.
I have nothing to say about that. There was a whatever. But yeah, so he's this activist. He's, gathering black people. He got them all riled up. They protesting. They walking across bridges and whatnot and walking to work and all these different things. And and Martin Luther King is at the forefront of all that.
Right.
And then they're just looking for some flaw in whatever he has going on. And then they, through the investigation and just pretty much like spying on him day and night, tapping his houses and his living spaces and stuff like that, tapping the phone, and you realize like he got hoes.
The newspaper was Twitter back in the day.
Yeah. So yeah.
Martin Luther King likes pussy. Read all about it.
The crazy part, but the same thing with that, like the people that are investigating him are doing the same exact thing.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
But the fact that they can stand on the outside of your despair and point the finger at you and watch you just like be hurt by it, it gives people joy. Some people aren't happy unless they're miserable.
Yeah.
And it's like, honestly, man, like I feel like the biggest issue in all of this is that I don't think people took enough time to really watch the special. And this is why I can say that. There are a lot of political pundits or people that, on the right that I don't necessarily agree with, but I watch it and find the validity in it. I don't like Candace Owens, but I've listened to Candace Owens make numerous valid points. And I've seen her sound like she was having episodes of self-hate and she was full of fucking shit. I've also listened to Ben Shapiro many times, made tons of valid points I 100% agree with. Other times he sound like a fucking moron that was really not knowing what the fuck he was talking about. But guess what? I like to listen to people objectively that I don't agree with because I can still find the validity in their statements and their stance. But when you just want to completely cancel somebody and not even take the time to really look and listen to what's going on, then you don't really have a legitimate reason to be standing out holding up signs. You really don't. It's somebody around this country that is openly homophobic, transphobic. Hold the sign up on them. Hold it up on them. If you really watch the special, you could see that Dave Chappelle was using his platform and his comedy as like a way to mourn a friend that he actually cared about. Mm-hmm. He was mourning on stage through a comedic lens, and people didn't take the time to see that. Instead, homophobic. People go right to labels, man. Yeah. Racist, homophobic, racist, transphobic. There's other phobics out there that I'm missing. But that's what people do now. Mm-hmm. I'm not very quick to call people racist. Mm-hmm. I'm not, because I have to literally see enough. Like, people say, was Donald Trump racist? And I'm like, man, possibly. I don't, but at the same time, I don't like to just put labels on people because I don't know a person's heart. What did I tell you last time? I guarantee you there's somebody probably in Iraq or in Vietnam, and it was some white dude that said nigger all the time, but he would give his life to save his black comrade. Mm-hmm. Like, he'll call him a nigger and all kind of shit, but he will jump on a bomb to save his life. Yeah. There's some people that express themselves, and I know this is not an excuse to be calling people gay slurs and racist and shit, but there are people that will literally, that will put their lives on the line for someone, but they express themselves in such a controversial way that you will just call them a racist or a homophobe or whatever, not realizing that they actually love the people they're talking about. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So for all of you out there, Eddie just okayed any homophobic slurs, any racist slurs.
I didn't.
As long as you love the person, it's right. Okay.
But if you call me a nigger, I'll beat your ass. Yeah, don't try it with me, man. It's like, Eddie, you're my nigger. I love you. You didn't even.
I love you, nigger.
You'd be like, whoa, you didn't even put the A in there. You went straight to the hard ER.
Oh, man.
Dude, I'm telling you right now, and this is for all of us, too, because I don't want to stay on this too long, but I guarantee you there's some white kid that his best friend is black, but the dude got a racist grandpa and be like, I told you about bringing these niggers in the house. I don't want them in here. And the kid ain't racist. He loves his grandpa, but his grandpa's a piece of fucking shit. Mm-hmm. The same way, like, if you black and your grandpa got a loose lip and be like, oh, you got your Asian girlfriend, huh? She know how to make teriyaki chicken?
Dang.
We got those family dynamics in our own family. Mm-hmm. So it's like, yo, stop it, bro. We know we're up against, dude. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah.
Anything else, Keith?
That's pretty much it.
To backtrack a little bit, I think we did a decent job of making the podcast scary at the very beginning. I think they got a little bit, got some hints of Freddy Krueger to start it off.
I think poverty is the scariest thing.
Poverty is scary.
And not to be like, make it seem like I'm some sort of genius or something, but when you think about like a guy like Key and Peele or what's the girl's name that did Them? What is it called? Them or They? What is it?
What are you talking about?
That show called?
Yeah, Them. The black family?
Yeah, it's kind of like horror, but it has the elements of like, like real life scenarios. So I think that'd be like the scariest stuff when you can see like, dang, that really might happen. Because, Freddy Krueger is not like, it is scary because of the look and stuff.
Freddy Krueger a whole bitch. He got to get you in your sleep, bro. You a punk. You got to wait till I go to sleep to fuck with me, bro. You can't do it like in the live.
Yeah. Not when you awake.
Yeah, Freddy Krueger a bitch, yo.
But niggas was really trying to stay up, not trying to go to sleep because they don't want to.
Nighty night. Yeah, once Freddy got your dreams, he could like turn into, and he could be a giant, all kind of shit. But like in real life, he was a whole bitch.
That's crazy. It's crazy to think like Bill Cosby was like a low key.
Whoa! You jumped from Freddy Krueger to Bill Cosby? What? He
was like a low key real life Freddy Krueger.
Oh, because of the pills.
He's putting people to sleep in.
Frazzles nozzle. Better not go to sleep around me. See, people will cancel us for cracking a Bill Cosby joke. That's how the world. And you know what? I don't want to say, oh, the world's so sensitive. All they do is find ways to cancel people. I don't want to say that either because I don't want to tell people how to feel. But what I can tell you is there's no malicious intent when I crack a R. Kelly joke or a joke about Bill Cosby. I'm not a very big fan of them at all.
I don't think I don't like that idea. I don't think we should tell people how to feel, but there are some flaws in the way people feel about certain things. So if you're a person that is very insecure in yourself and say we may be cracking a joke, or like, for instance, that story about my uncle, when my uncle had a scar on his face and we were watching the Freddy Krueger versus Jason trailer came on the TV. We were talking about it, and my uncle got low key. He was joking about it, but he got low key offended because he thought we were trying to make references to the way he looked, right? Saying that we thought he looked like Freddy Krueger. Yeah. But in that situation, we can't tell him how to feel, but there is still a flaw in the way that he was processing what we were talking about. So I think that idea is correct. You can't really make anybody feel any sort of thing. We don't control other people's emotions. But with that, there's a caveat because sometimes people just be so off base. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I think that's my stance or my rebuttal to that idea of we can't tell people how to feel.
Yeah, I dig it, man. Mm-hmm. And while you were speaking towards the end, I don't know why I thought about it, but dude, candy corn is so fucking nasty.
I like candy corn.
You serious? You would like that shit.
Yeah, I do.
Oh, it's so bad. The two worst candies ever on Halloween: candy corn and black licorice.
Yeah.
Black licorice tastes like I don't know. It tastes like somebody just hit you in the mouth and walked off. It's the worst fucking tasting shit, man.
It's terrible. It's yeah. I think I don't even. It's just like slavery. Like just the worst possible thing that
get
can
over
happen.
there, boy.
That's what it tastes like.
Get back in them fields, boy. Like all I did was eat licorice, massa. Get over there. Get out of there.
And why? When I seen that thing that you posted, I was just like, why is all the worst things black?
I don't know, man. The black
market. I like red licorice and the strawberry licorice.
You can't even say it right. It's licorice, bro.
Licorice?
Yeah, licorice.
Licorice?
You said licorice. You sound like a little kid. You sound like a 4-year-old trick-or-treater. What's going on, Keith?
Hey, man. There ain't no SH in lick. The way it's spelled is like...
Yeah, but that's how English is spoke, man. The same way.
But I'm saying the only way we know how to pronounce licorice is by hearing it. Because when you look at it, you be like, licorice?
You sound like a person from Germany trying to say American word.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's Ascheneiber. I don't know. Hindenburg. I don't know.
Wiener Schnitzel.
2 for $5. I don't know. Yo, Wiener Schnitzel is so underrated, bro. I haven't been there in probably almost 10 years, dude. I don't ever go there, but I do like it. It's just so salty and so bad that it's never on my list of places to go.
Yeah, I'd be smacking. I get the beef hot dogs, beef chili dogs.
Really?
Yeah, I'd be smacking that.
Yeah, they what I did like from there though was the those chili cheeseburgers.
Oh yeah. I'm afraid of eating a chili cheeseburger.
Why?
Just because if I'm out in public or I'll stop by Wiener Schnitzel if it's one on Ming. It's one over here, but in the neighborhood. But for some reason, I just don't ever go to that one. And it's one on Union too, but I never go to that one.
Yeah, you go to one on Union, you're gonna get a little bit of hot dog and crime. You be waiting on a hot dog and just get robbed.
It's been real life murders on that same corner.
Literally.
Yeah. So yeah, don't go over there.
Yeah, somebody got shot there like over 10 years ago.
No, somebody got shot there like last year.
Oh fuck.
They were supposed to be in the house, but they just getting killed.
I'll be back, Mom. I'm going to Wiener Schnitzel.
Halfway through saying that, I couldn't even finish it because I was like, dang, that's very harsh. Yeah.
That sucks. That'd be a way to go out. Like you going to get going to Wiener Schnitzel.
But it's a pandemic though. You should have been in the house.
And
you just getting
excuse.
Murdered.
That's still not a good excuse. Like you went to go get a hot dog, man. That's a perfect excuse to get out of the house.
Yeah. I
walked down the street because I needed to burn the calories from all them hot dogs I was about to eat.
Yeah.
And now I get shot. It's fucked up, man.
That's crazy.
All right. Switching gears.
Yeah.
Recently, Shaq was on the podcast Earn Your Leisure, and he described his wealth, and he made a statement that was really interesting. He said, Shaquille O'Neal wants his kids to earn their way. We ain't rich, I'm rich. Shaquille O'Neal believes in working hard for your money, even when it comes to his kids. The Basketball Hall of Famer and an appearance on Earn Your Leisure podcast said his kids don't get a free pass just because their dad is rich and famous. My kids are older now. They're kind of upset with me. Not really upset, but they don't understand, said O'Neal, who recently retired his celebrity status in an interview with The Post. I tell them all the time, we ain't rich, I'm rich. O'Neal is estimated to have a net worth of $400 million. His playing days over. He's an analyst on TNT's Inside the NBA and has reported 50 different endorsement deals, including Gold Bond, Reebok, Pepsi, and the General. There's also multiple dining ventures like Papa John's, Big Chicken, and Shaquille's.
Shakaroni pizza.
Yeah. The four-time NBA champion went on to reveal the standards his kids must uphold if they want a piece of O'Neal money pie. And I could run it, but I don't want to play it on here. You got to have a bachelor's or master's. And if you want me to invest in one of your companies, you're going to have to present it. Boom, boom, bring it to me, he said. I'll let you know I'm not giving you nothing. While O'Neal admittedly sees an entrepreneur spirit in his children, he wants them to figure it out on their own. Multiple things are so true about this. One of them is, I think it's dope that Shaq says that, and I think it's almost impossible for him to escape it, though, because standing next to him is his son, Sharif, right? Mm-hmm. And his son is wearing a Gucci sweater, so I don't think...
Yeah.
I think it's hard to escape that you do have rich kids, O'Neal. Unfortunately, you have to accept that reality. Mm-hmm. But in regards to you not giving them stuff, is like, all right, man, look, I ain't giving you nothing. Just take this $100,000 and leave me alone.
Yeah. You don't have a luxurious life like I do.
Right. Exactly. So Shaq said something that really was hilarious, though, but I believe that he does this. He said one of his sons got straight A's. And he said, all right, get whatever you want. And he said his son came back with a Tesla. And he said, take that shit back. Go get a Charger. Right? And he said, don't get the V8 either. Get the V6. I said, I'm going to get the Hellcat, but you ain't getting that. You get the one with the V6 in it. I was like, damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, but look, at the end of the day, I could understand why he feels that way. Shaq grew up in very humble beginnings. But it's like, unfortunately, you're in a position now where it's like, I think the smartest thing you could do, I don't. First of all, I'm not rich and I don't have kids, so that kind of eliminates me from certain parts of the conversation. But I could imagine that if I was rich and I had kids, I would want them to have some company or business that they believed in, that they wanted to start, and then fund it. I would fund it, and then I would step away. Mm-hmm. That's what I would do. I say, hey, look here, right? I've invested $3 million in your business. I've invested $2.5 million in your business. I've invested $2 million in your business, and I'm a step away. Yeah. So I've literally given you $2 million to start your business. And that means if I've given you $2 million, I've written you off now. Mm-hmm. You know, you should be okay with $2 million. If you fuck it off, you can't come back to me. Right? Yeah. Dr. Dre eventually just cut his daughter off.
Yeah.
And I don't blame him, man. She's a liability.
Yeah. I think that's an interesting thing, though, like when it comes to the family dynamic. Me personally, I probably wouldn't do that. I wouldn't wait till them to fail to kind of dismiss them. They would have to do more to prove to me that they're like an asset to me. I think about even like with J. Cole, Boss, who's on Dreamville, is Ebe, who is J. Cole's manager and the president of Dreamville. That's his younger brother. And then like like what Kendrick Lamar and Baby Keem have, like that's his cousin and whatnot.
Top of the morning.
Yeah. So, that's and I would imagine that in those situations, the younger brother or the cousin or whatever had to prove themselves to be, assets to, the company. And it wasn't like Kendrick took Baby Keem straight from ground zero. I'm sure he had to hit the studio a few times, prove to him that he had a work ethic and all this kind of stuff. But I think that what a lot of people don't understand, and a lot of people that have conversations about celebrities, money, and what they're doing, they're not so successful themselves, at least economically or financially. Because if you or not even really researched, because if you actually knew about how a lot of people move when they do have money, you would understand that a guy like Bill Gates, who's, maybe $60 billion net worth or something crazy like that, they have conversations that all the time in interviews and stuff like that. They say it all the time that they're not leaving their kids any money. You know what I mean? Same thing with Warren Buffett. Like that's the way a lot of very wealthy people move. I think that because we don't have money and we have these ideas in our head about how people should how people should spend their money or how people should treat whatever. But it's a lot of successful, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying this is how it is. It's a lot of very successful people that live under this idea that my kid is not going to starve. My kid is not going to be homeless or anything like that. Right. I'm going to take care of them. I'm going to teach them the ways. I'm going to show them how I got to this place in this position. But I'm not just giving them money. And I think although that's, people can have whatever idea about it, that's actually, I think it's a good thing to do in a sense because when people don't show their value to you, or they don't show that they can grow money, or they don't show that they understand the value of a dollar, like you end up in positions to where people are just blowing through money or say Shaq does get his, or he just throws his son like $100,000 or whatever the case may be. Because they don't know the value of that, they don't know how to earn money, they don't know the work ethic or anything behind it. They're just going to blow through that money, and then in a month, he's going to be asking for another allowance.
I'm the type of dad where obviously I don't have kids, but if they started becoming of age, meaning, the age of like 9, 11, right in there, I would just I would go to my neighbors and be like, hey, you need your yard cut? Mm-hmm. They'd be like, well, yeah, but my yard guy hasn't came through yet. I'll be like, okay. I go to like 5, 6, whatever neighbors. I'll be like, hey, son, I need you to cut all those yards. Mm-hmm. I just have him cutting it. And he would probably be pissed the fuck off. He'd be so mad. Like, why'd you sign me up for this, Dad? Well, I'll be like, you have to give kids an early taste of reality. Because if you don't have a job all the way till you turn 18 and now you're a part of the workforce, you're not even going to know how to survive in it.
Yeah.
I had some early... I had some early awakenings before I was the age of 18, from the age of like 15, where I was working at the Kern County Museum and I was doing some hard work. Mm-hmm. Like we had to build corrals and shit for horses. We had to dig make irrigation systems irrigation system where you take a bunch of irrigation pipe and you dig these trenches and you put the pipes in the fucking in the little in the crevices, and then you create like drip irrigation where you got stab a hole in the actual irrigation pipe. You put this little filter in it where it comes out. Like, we did a lot of fucking work, right? And it was some kids that would sit back, and I'm not judging people, but this is the truth. I was a hard worker. I was always the one that was doing my job just because I didn't want to lose my job. But it was the other kids that was working there that would just sit back and let me do all the work. They would sit back, and it would probably be me and like 3 other people when it could have been literally 7 of us working hard. But they would sit over there laughing and giggling and fucking around, sitting back, laugh. And what ended up happening is those same people that was goofing off, a couple of them is in prison right now. And the other ones are baby mamas with hella kids, right? So I feel like you are given early real life examples of what it means to be a worker, or like what it means to actually build and work on something. And I feel like not only that, like the structure, right? I had school in the morning, went to work, and then went to football practice during the summertime, right before the 2-a-days popped off. And I don't even think they have 2-a-days anymore, I heard.
Really?
I heard a lot of players, like a lot of teams don't do 2-a-day practices no more.
Hey, sometimes I wish I could be born in like 2006 or 7.
These motherfuckers don't know what it's like to wake up and be at practice at 6 in the fucking morning, put all your gear and your pads and shit on. Now the coach got you doing hidden drills and you're fucking hitting your teammates and shit. Then you leave practice sore, go home for a few hours, got to come back for the night practice. Now I running the shit out of you. And you're supposed to remember these plays. It's like, God damn.
Be so tired, dehydrated.
You got to lift weights. It's like, God damn.
In college, I think we had like 2 weeks of 2-a-days.
2 weeks? Mm-hmm. Then 2 weeks be long as a motherfucker.
Yeah.
It's long days.
It'd be hard practices because you're not really in shape. You know what I mean? You're doing the off-season running and stuff like that, but you're not doing like on-field drills and stuff. I mean, Eddie's seen like us practicing a couple times and stuff like that. And especially in college, it was like 6 DBs, maybe 5.
God. Them drills,
5 DBs.
I used to get tired watching Keith, yo.
Yeah, we was running them back to back,
nonstop.
But we was in super shape though. I can remember like certain points where like we just wasn't even getting tired no more.
It was running y'all so much. I was just like, yo, they got to be adapted to this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's like,
shout out to Coach Chudy.
Yeah, Chudy ran
Coach Bolton.
Fuck out of y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, that's nuts. Chudy used to be yelling shit. God damn it!
The first time I seen Coach Chudy, I forget what it was.
Coach Chudy looked like John Gruden's little brother.
Yeah.
Like he could be related to John Gruden low key.
I think, and they got that look, like that angry.
That angry, yeah.
He just always looked angry to me. It was a clip of Coach, I'm calling Coach Gruden. I don't even know him. But John Gruden, he was yelling at a quarterback, like basically saying like, you got to get better. But it was, he had that same temperament as like Coach Gola and Coach Chudy, where it was like 0 to 100.
Oh, that video that came out where he's addressing the team? John Gruden?
Yeah.
Like, get fucking better.
Yeah.
He was like angry looking at his face. I was like,
but he was cool at first. He was just like, I just need you guys to come ready to work. And then it was like,
he just cold switched, man.
Yeah. So, it's a lot of, I played for a lot of coaches like that.
Can you imagine if he like slipped up and said something racist while he was addressing the team? He'd be like, I need you guys to get better. Stop playing like Jews out there. Like, what the fuck did you just say?
I think we're gonna talk about it later, like the microaggressions and stuff like that. I think Coach Chudy has some like low key microaggressions. Oh yeah, because there was one time a dude was out there, like I think you were there. I think we were watching Desmond practice, and he didn't have like the official like red shorts with the t-shirt or whatever on. The nigga just showed up. Like he looked like he just got done hooping at Silver Creek. He had a tank top on and then just like I remember it was like some blue shorts, but they had like different colors or whatever. And then whatever Coach Chudy said, he referenced him as like a basketball player. It was like, it just sounded terrible.
When you cut 5 yards, you got to go in basketball. Come on, get it together. Get your head in the game, basketball.
Oh, man.
When a coach, a coach don't fuck with you when he give you a nickname that's not good.
You be like, get your head in the game. This is a hidden drill, not a layup line.
Look, Kunta Kinte, get your head out of your ass and get in the game. It could be a Mexican guy. His name is like James or something. Like, Hernandez, what the hell are you doing out there?
Critical race theory. Move your ass.
We're going to do up downs until we're not playing like blacks out here. Get out here and get on the Oh, man.
God dang.
Oh, that's hilarious, man. Gotta love football, man. Football low-key like helped us out in life too, though.
Oh, for sure.
Because there's so many times, like during a workout or whatever, I just can't do it. But I think about like how much I was getting my ass killed in practice when I was young, bro.
Yeah.
We get through doing hidden drills, like relentless hidden drills. Now coach got us doing. There was one drill that I did like though, and it was it was two of them, but one of them was that pursuit drill. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
Is it the one where they throw the ball like across the field and you guys got to run to
it? Yeah, back then, though. Yeah, that was one. That was one. That actually was the one. Yeah. But what it was is they either have it where you point, like you break down, you chop your feet.
Yeah.
They point, and then you run to that cone.
Yeah.
Or I think Coach did throw a ball, though, yeah.
It would be, what we would have, it would be like, so it was, I think they were across like the edges of the field, right?
Yeah,
it might have been like 3 or 4. I think they had like 3 different levels.
Yeah.
what it would be for like the DBs is like, or they would have like the assistant coaches stand at the thing, or maybe like a player that wasn't in or whatever, a manager or whatever. And then they would throw the ball, but it would be the pursuit is obviously a pursuit drill, but you would have to go the proper angle.
Yes.
So like for us as DBs, if I'm the backside corner, I got to run I got to run at an angle across the field. You know what I mean? Because if you're running to the play, you're just going to get washed out. Like you're never going to catch him. So you got to basically you're the last resort. So if he breaks away, you got to be able to catch him at that angle. Yeah. So it was those were not fun because you were tired, but it was kind of like a cool little team.
It was different because I was a lineman. So
you running 2 feet.
I'm running straight over to the fucking corner.
Mm-hmm. Unless it's a Hail Mary, then everybody just running down the field.
Yeah, but you know, what was it? But here's the thing that sucked. Once you run across the field and you got to break down and chop your feet. Mm-hmm. If the whole team, you had to wait till the whistle to just like stand up in the drill.
Yeah.
But if coach blow the whistle one time and you break down and you just stand up, everybody run. You be like, God damn, this same nigga keep fucking up the drill. It'd be the same dude that keep blowing the drills. You'd be like, you motherfucker.
I hated that. Because obviously football is the ultimate team sport.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you're younger, it doesn't really register to you. Like, yo, why am I running when this nigga is, like, not making the time? Or why am I doing extra when he jumping off sides or whatever the case may be? But then you realize, like, if that same person screws up in the game, we losing anyways. So it's like, y'all got to figure it out in practice or you're going to be losing. So...
Yeah, that's true. Mm-hmm. Oh man, we completely got off track. Mm-hmm. But yeah, man, not a whole lot to say here about Shaq's situation. It's just like, yo, like just try your best not to let your kids be entitled, only because life is going to fuck them up, and it'll be a rude awakening if they don't have anything to like set them up. Yeah, I would still give them, like I mentioned earlier, I would still give them something to get them started and let them know I'm here. But it's like, it's hard to tell kids that grew up with a rich ass daddy just to figure it out because I don't know.
It's not really in them. It's hard for me to say because when I look at these people, when I look at Shaq, when I look at Warren Buffett, when I look at Bill Gates, they're doing it for a reason. You know what I mean? And also their kids are not like hurting for anything. It ain't like they out here, you know, broke or whatever. So I think for me, I can't say that I would just be handing my son or daughter just money out. But what I would say more so is like, I'm curious to know why these guys are donating, you know, like Bill Gates is like donating most of his money versus passing it on to his kids, or why Shaq is, you know, buying his kids the bare essentials instead of like splurging on them. Why is there that separation? So I think for me, I don't really have a real stance on it because I'm not rich or I don't have kids, but I would just really be curious to know why are they moving the way they are.
Mm-hmm. We don't have all the answers here, unfortunately, on the Trucker's Mind podcast.
You don't got the answers.
But we can tell you about old football practices, though.
Yeah.
Man, I remember some really funny memories from high school. I remember there was a time where we ran a drill. Oh, I think coach just substituted all the running for special teams. He just had us all do special teams at the end of a practice to substitute for running. I was a junior, and one of our defensive tackles, shout out to Calvin. We ran a drill. He's probably one of the biggest nose guards in the valley, right? Really tough guy. And Calvin took off running full speed, and there was I think he was a safety actually, Corey Edwards, I believe. And he got the ball and he took off running, and somehow Calvin hit him, right? And he hit him so fucking hard that this kid did a helicopter. He did a fucking helicopter and fell, and everybody was like, oh, like literally the whole practice fell quiet. Mm-hmm. Like it was a moment of silence, and then everybody's like, oh my God. Mm-hmm. I probably have never, besides maybe a few other occasions, have ever seen somebody get hit that fucking hard and not die. Like, I was like, God damn, dude.
Yeah.
He massacred that kid, man.
That's crazy.
Yeah, man. Shout out to my boy EJ, too. Mm-hmm. EJ got in practice.
You know, it's so crazy. Like, thinking about, and you were talking about, like, the lessons you learn from football and stuff like that. I think for me, one of the things that I learned the most was, like, how far you can fall if you're not putting in the work.
Oh, yes.
So I remember, like, seeing, like, super talented kids on our team, like, you know, phenoms or whatever. And it would be times where, you know, sometimes when you're working out in football and stuff, especially like the summer practices and stuff like that, obviously the coaches is not literally like eyeing you every second of the workout, right? So they're accounting on you to, you know, kind of take your own accountability. But I remember like certain kids that would be like skipping, like they'll skip a set, or you know, say we got like say it's a time thing, like 30 seconds of planks or something like that. Then when the coach turn around, they rest on their knees or whatever.
Yeah.
And then that stuff starts to add up.
Yes, it does.
So over the course of, you know, 4 years, when, you know, everybody else is getting better and better and better, that person that was already good is just kind of like plateauing a little bit. Yeah. So that, I think that's, you know, outside of football, I think it's just important for all of us to just be super diligent at whatever we're doing, because you don't want to be that guy that was like talented in a certain field and then everybody just starts catching up to you.
True. And there was times like you learn of not on like accountability for not only yourself but your teammate.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say what teammate let me down, but we was doing a drill. I was a junior, and I remember it was a drill where you do 10 push-ups, and at the 10th, and it was during the conditioning. You know how before you do the 2-a-days, you got that it's like a couple weeks of straight conditioning. And at the 10th push-up, you just stop in that position. You cannot lock your elbows out, though. And you got to hold your core tight. And you hold it. And you got to hold it. And you got to hold it. And the one that fails, the other teammate got to run. So then you got to run 100 yards up and then run back and do the push-ups all over again.
Yeah.
So we doing it, and then my teammate falls down. So I got to get up and run. So I come back. Then we doing it again. My teammate falls down. Then I got to run another 100 yards up and back. Then this motherfucker does it again. I got to go up and come back. By this time, I'm exhausted. I got sweat coming out of every part of my pores. It's coming out my fucking eyebrows coming off. And this motherfucker goes down again. And then Coach Hen, shout out to Coach Hen, he's like, oh, that's it. No, man, you got to go. You got to run. So I was so tired, and he just seen the dude just kept on falling. He's like, nah, you gotta run this time, man.
Yeah, like, come on, dog. You gotta suck it up.
And I was like, hey, God, dude.
Yeah, I tell that story. I was talking to my friend, one of my friends that I grew up with running track. Yeah. And we were just talking about how he coaches track now. And he was just talking about like how the kids are so different. Like how he said he would try to put him through workouts, and he teaches junior high. He said he would try to put him through workouts, but he's like, their mentality is different. Like they're not always willing to push through a workout. Like, you know, if they got to run 800 meters, you know, after 400, they may walk for a little bit and then try to finish the rest of it or whatever the case may be. But I told it on here before, but it was times when I was running track in elementary school that I would rather pass out than stop running. And I just think like, you know, of course that's a little bit psychotic, but I just think like, you know, moving forward and, you know, being 29 years old now, you see that mentality is, it's kind of what you need to get ahead in life.
Yeah, you do. Because you either fail two ways. You either fail from literally passing out, or you fail from giving up. I'd rather pass from falling out.
Yeah.
Because it means I've exerted every inch of freaking exhaustion and effort that I had in me. And I could fail knowing that I tried. I could be mad, but then it's like, yo, I gave everything I had. I can't fucking hang my head on that. But yeah, man. All right. Switching gears. Rapper Meek Mill questions his record deal. Recently, Meek Mill went and talked about his record deal and gave some details and he didn't really have all the details. He kind of just seemed kind of pissed off.
Meek Mill just be tweeting.
Yeah, he just be tweeting, man. That guy's got to, somebody's got to talk to him, man. Let's see here. Where are we at? Oh, shit, I didn't put...
Somebody got to talk to him.
Yeah, somebody needs to talk to that guy. I didn't save the article. Son of a bitch. Oh, okay, here we go. All right, Meek Mill. Okay, here we go. Meek Mill. Meek Mill threatens to reveal his record contract after alleging label has yet to pay him. Keisha Cole and Tyrese show support. Meek Mill wants every cent owed to him. Your neck cracking was pretty loud, sir.
Yeah, these freaking chairs.
Yeah, man. Sounds like a football injury. Less than a month after dropping his latest album, Expensive Pain,
There's a chink in my armor.
Yep, I haven't heard. Oh yeah, right. Let's cancel Keith. Cancel Keith 2021. Hashtag cancel Keith 2021. All right. Less than a month after dropping his latest album, Expensive Pain, the Philly rapper took to a not-so-subtle jab to a record label. He is currently signed to both Atlantic and Maybach Music Group, which is owned by rapper Rick Ross, for allegedly withholding money he is due. On Twitter, Meek wrote, asked the label, how much have you spent on me as an artist? Then you ask how much have you made off me as an artist? I'm about to make my record deal. Okay, before I continue, a record label does not have to be transparent of how much money they made off of you. That's how the deal works. When they sign with you, when they sign you, you sign to them. You don't have the right really to ask them how much money they've made off you.
You could get an audit though.
You can get an audit, but you have to go through the proper legal.
Yeah, they not just going to be like, hey, this is what we spent on this.
Exactly. That's what I mean. Go through the proper legal channels. Don't just post a tweet about how much have you made off me. Mm-hmm. When you do an audit, you'll figure it out. Yeah. I forgot who it was that Nelly had told some artist to do an audit. This was recently I heard it. Fuck. What artist was it? Who was it? Jeez. Anyways, Nelly told an artist to do an audit, and he found out that he was missing out on millions of dollars. They had to pay him.
I believe it.
Yeah, so you gotta. And the thing about it is, if you don't stay on these people, they're gonna get their money. Mm-hmm. Artists, I'm about to make a record deal by just the world. The world see what these people on. He followed up with a second message claiming, I haven't get paid from music, and I don't know how much money labels make off me. I need lawyers ASAP. The only thing this tweet made you do was look incredibly stupid. It made you look incredibly not business savvy at all. And unfortunately, Meek Mill has had the privilege of, when he got out of prison, all of Philadelphia was behind him, and they won the Super Bowl that year and all this shit.
Yeah.
And from that point, Meek's star rose so high. Mm-hmm. And now he's doing things to reduce his star.
Yeah.
And he is literally taking an L. Everybody kept talking about him taking L's. He's literally taking one. First of all, you make that line about Kobe, which was terrible. It was tasteless. Mm-hmm. Then after you do that dumb shit, then you got an issue with Tekashi 6ix9ine. Another dumb thing.
On camera arguing and whatnot.
Rich, successful, business-savvy, intelligent people don't do what Meek Mill is doing. They don't do that. Mm-hmm. I tell you what, if I had an issue with another man and all of a sudden I got a deal worth $3 million, do you think I'm worrying about that other guy? No. I'm worried about making lucrative business deals. I'm worried about my family. This guy is tweeting, and he's obviously, first of all, what you need to do as an artist or just as a human being is educate yourself. Learn how to use periods and commas. Learn how to spell. I'm serious. Seriously. Learn how to use periods and commas. Learn how to articulate yourself better, because people will never respect you when they read a tweet like this.
Those are the people that they take advantage of.
Exactly. Yeah. They were like, oh, this motherfucker's stupid.
Yeah.
I'm about to come up. He's talented. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great.
Rap really good.
Yeah, but he doesn't know the difference between there, or there. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Two or two.
Exactly. You don't know the difference with there, or there with the EIR or was it the RE, and what's the other one? Oh, the regular one, THERE. Mm-hmm. You just don't know the difference between those, and you can tell when people write stuff like that. Like they'll be like, I was going to the store. They'd be like the number 2 DA store earlier, and my financial advisor said, and they don't even spell financial or advisor correctly. It's like it's at some point it's funny when you read it, but it's not really funny.
Yeah, it starts to become sad at a certain point.
Yeah,
I think when I see Meek Mill, I don't know. It's hard to grasp why he actually tweets a lot of these things, because some of the stuff he tweets, like he tweeted once, he was like, "Yo, I'm looking for some." He said something like, "I'm looking for some programmers or something. I want to start my own app." Or it was another tweet that he was like, "Yo, me, Lil Durk, and Lil Baby, we all." We all gonna come together and start our own streaming service. And it was just different things like, yo, I'm looking for a lawyer and stuff like that.
Yo, they got a thing on Twitter right now. It says, replying to Meek Mill, this is deal Meek signed to MMG. Looks like he never even read it. You see it?
Oh, it's this thing signed. Oh. Yeah, I mean, she probably didn't read it. They probably told him the number that he was going to get, and then that was pretty much the end of it.
And then what's funny is Rick Ross knows exactly how much he fucking him too.
But that's the thing about those deals. Like, it's just what they call a JV deal. So Maybach Music is signed to a parent company, and then Rick Ross signs artists.
Right.
So a lot of times, like in reference to like Big Sean and Good Music and all those artists that were on Good Music that were disgruntled, like Tiana Taylor and some of the other artists. And Big Sean is finally out of his Good Music deal. Wow. But it's just a branding thing, you know? And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand. Like, they just use Rick Ross, or they just use Kanye West or whomever as these like subsidiaries, and they go out and do all the real legwork and stuff like that, and then the big company is the one funding, or funneling all the money through, and then it's
they got to recoup all that, or they're gonna get it back with interest too.
Yeah, so I say that to say, like, a lot of times, like even like Birdman, he got a lot of flack for Lil Wayne's deal and Drake's deal and Nicki Minaj, but he had came out recently and was saying like, yo, I signed these people, but I didn't know. I was ignorant to a lot of the stuff that was going on. And this is just what he's saying. So I'm not saying that this happened or didn't happen, but he was basically saying like, I was ignorant. I didn't know all the ins and outs. I thought everybody was getting paid, but when I realized what was happening, I corrected and I wrote them a check. That's what he said. So as far as that being true or not, I don't know. But what I would say is that same amount of ignorance from Birdman is probably across the board. Yeah. So from Kanye West and Good Music and Rick Ross, and I think Rick Ross is, pretty intelligent. I think he knows a lot of what's going on. But I'm just saying it could happen to where, like, he don't know how Meek Mill is getting paid or what happens with his royalties and stuff like that.
You really don't need to be all that smart. All you need to do is be like, before you sign something, and you never want to let somebody get you something. You never want to sign something in writing until you have an idea of what it means. Yeah. So if you don't understand the jargon, first of all, honestly, even me, I'm not stupid, but if I read a contract and it's like 25 pages long, 30 pages long, I'm going to get lost in the sauce at some point. It's so many, like, it's so much jargon, legal jargon and wording that it's over my head. Mm-hmm. And it's built that way to confuse regular folks. Yeah. It's, and when you're dumb, then it makes it worse. Like when you're Meek Mill and you don't spell correctly, then it's going to be even worse. Now you got to read now. Mm-hmm. That's going to make it worse. Yeah. What I would do is say, hey, can I have one or two things happen? Can I have these documents forwarded to my lawyer? Yeah. And they'd be like, well, no, these are private. We can't do that. I'm like, well, can I have my lawyer sit in with me before we sign it? And they'll be like, okay, but here's the problem. This is how you know you shouldn't sign it. When they said, oh, you need a lawyer? Well, we actually have one here that we can get to read this over for you.
That's a conflict of interest.
It's a conflict of interest because they already have a lawyer here. So they're going to fuck you, and they're going to give you, said, all right, we're going to give you your 10%. All right. But we got to get this guy to sign this. This is what labels do. They're trying to get you to do this. And if you're falling for it at this point, then it doesn't make any sense. Yeah. Let's go into this a whole nother, well, it's the same conversation, but it's a whole nother one. recently on Joe Rogan, a singer from the 90s, Jewel. Jewel was 18 years old, and she had was homeless due to, I'll give you a little bit of a backstory. I can't go too deep. You would have to listen to the episode with Jewel on Joe Rogan. But Jewel had moved out to San Diego with her mother, and they had a place. And her hours got cut real bad at a job and whatnot. And what ended up happening is she ultimately lost her job. And the landlord said, hey, if you want to stay here, you're going to have sex with me. He tried to leverage the property owning on her to have sex with him. And she said, I'm not going to lie, I thought about it because it would be better than the situation being homeless on the streets.
That's a sick man.
Yeah, but she said, fuck no. So she ended up getting kicked out at the age of 18 and was living out of her car. And she was extremely talented, though, and ultimately was just start taking up little gigs at coffee shops. And he said it started out with 4 people, then 9 people, then 20 people, then 70 people, then 150. And it was so many people at these coffee shops that they were standing outside just to listen to her sing. Ultimately, it got the attention of radios are nearby, and then the executives from these major companies listened to radio, and they ended up having a bidding war over Jewel, right? So Jewel knows they're after and all of this, and mind you, she's homeless and 18 years old. Jewel, when she found out that all these record labels were after her, she went to the library and got a book that was written by a guy, and it says, things you need to know about the music industry, right? She learned about back ends. She learned about advances. She learned about all these things. And then when they offered her $1 million advance, she turned it down. All she asked for was $2,000 a month just so she could live. And she turned that advance down. She knew that from reading that book that if she took that $1 million advance, that the label would basically own her. And it would take her forever to recoup that deal or recoup that $1 million that they had.
Yeah.
Ultimately, she ended up winning because she also made herself cheaper in the process because when she went on tour, she drove herself. She didn't even allow the label to pay for that. So that gave them less of a reason to drop her from the label because that first year that they had her,
didn't invest that much money into her.
Right. They didn't invest that much money. So that first year, she only sold 2,000 records. So it would have been terrible if she got that $1 million advance and didn't recoup. They would have dropped her and she would have owed that fucking money.
Yeah. She would have never been able to recoup that.
Never. She probably been still paying that shit back. That was from 1994. To make a long story short, Jewel became wildly successful. It was selling 1 million records a month. 1 million a month. She got so much back end, she ultimately made up to over $100 million. So it's like, fuck.
Not to mention touring and all the other stuff.
Yeah, all that. She made so much money. There's more to go into that, but I won't get into that. You got to listen to the podcast for that. But I'll say this to tie it all in. When Jewel was 18 years old and homeless, she had the foresight to see where her music career was going to go, and she did the work, and she did her due diligence to read it. Sometimes I think it's up to the individual to not be taken advantage of, and a lot of times, a lot of people allow their circumstance to just let them fall into anything. It's like you never want to make decisions based in desperation.
Yeah.
You got to get your legs up under you and say, hey, look, right? Hey, look. I'm broke, I'm fucked up, but just because they're dangling the carrot doesn't mean I need to take a bite. Let me see how else I could work this thing so I could figure it out.
She's super unique, though.
Very.
I think that it's, and I was telling you this earlier, I'm like, yo, every artist has had some sort of, and a lot of it, some of it is not public, but there has been some sort of disagreement with where they're standing versus, what they want. Whether it's, you hear rumblings about Kendrick Lamar and TDE or SZA not being able to release music when she wants to. And, a guy that's from Bakersfield, Zakari, like he signed to TDE years ago, still hasn't been able to put an album out. Even a guy like Drake, he's referencing stuff on his album. J. Cole only was, as of like 3 albums ago, been able to get his masters. You know what I mean?
Crazy.
So it's every single artist has had and these are wildly successful artists in their own right. So for her to be able at 18 years old and be homeless to say like, hey, and even to have the idea to go do her due diligence and do her research, that's not even normal. It's extremely surprising because
it's an outlier.
It's just as quick as that video shows Meek Mill signing that contract. That's probably 97% of the industry is just like, oh,
I'm poor. Oh, I don't have anything to eat. Oh, you want to offer me $1 million? Let me take this gamble.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, man. Yeah, it's easier said than done because
for sure,
when you're in a moment of desperation and somebody has exactly what you need.
Even now, I mean, it's so much more information out.
Yeah.
Like all those artists from the 90s that signed all those bad deals are now speaking up in 2020, 2021 saying like, yo, I'm still trying to get my masters back. I think you're talking about Lil Brother, the group, about how terrible their deal is, or it's a lot of like Warren G, talking about how he can't get his rights to his music back.
Jam.
Yeah, exactly. So
they made sure he didn't go to Def Jam.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess Snoop and a couple.
No, Death Row.
Huh?
Death Row.
Oh yeah, Death Row. They made sure he didn't go to Death Row. My bad.
Mm-hmm.
They want him to go to Def Jam. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
because he kept. They said he kept the lights on at Def Jam with that song.
Yeah,
that was a huge song.
Which one? Regulate.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Nate Dogg and Warren G had to regulate.
Mm-hmm.
That was a huge fucking song.
Yeah.
I remember when it first dropped, I was, oh my God. I think that came out in like, I'm going to say 95. I remember when that video was like a premiere.
Mm-hmm.
It was a clear black night, a clear black moon, Warren G. I was like, yo, this is so crazy. And I'm a little kid. Like, imagine me as a little kid sitting there with my mouth open watching the video.
Yeah, in awe. Like, yo, this is crazy.
These dudes are... This is what I want to be when I want to be like Warren G when I grow up.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's a joke. That's definitely... If I had the top 100 hip-hop songs of all time,
that's one of them
Regulate's definitely on there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how high it's up on there, but it's fucking high.
Mm-hmm. Is it Regulate or Regulators?
Regulate. It's called Regulate, but at the beginning they go, Regulators!
Yeah.
Mount up.
Yeah.
It was a clear black night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I know somebody else is finishing the rest of the lyrics right now.
Yeah.
The podcast.
Yeah. That's one of those ones. That whole G-Funk era with freaking Nate Dogg and, that's I think about that. Like, I think about what a lot of the guys are doing now. Like, guys like Blast and Bino and I think this guy named like G Perico. Yeah. A lot of these newer West Coast artists.
Yeah.
It's not that exact same sound from the 90s, but
they Nate Dogg's kids, bro.
But it is like iterations of the singing and the
they Nate Dogg's kids, bro. Yeah. He was the first one to come out with that whole sound.
Mm-hmm.
That whole sound never existed before Nate Dogg.
Yeah.
Nate Dogg, I think he used to sing in a choir before he even got into hip hop.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. Can you imagine him and Nate Dogg was very like he didn't have like emotion in his face.
Uh-huh.
Y'all know if you remember, like when he would be like singing or whatever, he just had like a very
just stale face,
plain face.
Mm-hmm.
It's That's a tad bit late. Nate Dogg and Warren G had to regulate.
That's funny.
No anger or sadness or happiness. It's just Nate Dogg. Yeah.
I got hoes. It's just
I got hoes
in different area codes. I couldn't even imagine. How do you do that?
I don't know. You imagine you keeping that same face while you're getting a blowjob? I got head. I got head.
I'm about to come. About to come.
I just busted. I'm about to bust.
Nate Dogg is a goat, man.
Yeah, shout out to
rest in peace
to Nate Dogg. That's when Nate Dogg died, bro. That's one of the biggest L's we took in California, bro.
Oh, for sure.
That's one of the biggest L's, bro.
And sometimes I just think about his career spanned like 2 decades?
I believe so.
Where he started off, in the 90s doing hooks for Snoop Dogg and, Warren G and all these guys. And then to almost revamp himself and do songs with Eminem and 50 Cent, 21 Questions. And what's the name of that song with Eminem? I can't even think of it. I'm a reptile. Somebody know out there.
What? How'd it go?
He got a. I don't know the word. I can't think of the words right now. I'm a reptile.
Oh, I know. Yeah, he's like, till my eyes roll out.
Yeah,
give out.
Can't shut my mouth.
Yeah.
Roll out. Yeah.
Yeah, he was already. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He got some classics. One of my favorites too is like nobody really. It's not on a whole bunch of people's radars. Remember that song Ooh Wee?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wee.
Yeah.
La da 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 da. Dun 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 da 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 da.
Yeah, he's like amazing hooks.
Yeah, he was. If he was alive, bro, he would be even more massive.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would. Yeah, he'd be even more massive because he did a lot of collaborations too with all kind of artists. Mm-hmm. I think he also low key birthed that movement because he low key birthed that. He was the prequel to that Flow Rider and Pitbull genre too.
Really?
Yeah, because he had certain songs that were getting remixed and had like little what do you call that? Like almost like a little techno. Like he was doing they had like a lot of remixes with Nate Dogg on them that had kind of like that like party type sound on them. Mm-hmm. But I don't say I say he was a prequel to it. He didn't start that type of genre, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Pitbull, they took that. They the only ones that exist in that lane. It's Pitbull and Flow Rider.
Thank God.
Right. Just shout out shit. Just shout out shit. Just shout out shit.
No more artists doing that.
Mentirosa.
They be making so much money though.
Yeah.
Making it killing. But yeah, as far as the record contracts go, I just think for a lot of us will never, ever touch that kind of money. A lot of us will never, ever sign a record deal. But I think the lesson for just any and everybody is that to just be more aware of what we're doing. It's never, ignorance is never an excuse. They always say like ignorance of the law is not an excuse.
Right.
So it's not necessarily an excuse, but I will say that nowadays, when there's so much information out there, when there's people crying out for help, listen, people make fun of him all the time, but Joe Budden was crying on his podcast when the little brother thing was going out. When basically they, I think Tommy Boy was a record label, and I might be wrong, but I think Tommy Boy was a record label, and they're trying to buy their masters back, but they weren't allowing them to do so. And I don't know what the aftermath is now, but Joe Budden was crying on his podcast because he was, he's like super passionate about hip hop and he cares about like the artists in a way. And, so many artists have gotten screwed over so many different times that he was crying about it. And I think that, and that's stuff in the 90s, but in 2020, like we got to be way more aware. Yeah.
Joe Budden would break out crying and being passionate and then just be like, I can't believe this. I can't believe they did something like this. Man, fuck Rory and Mal. You measly ass motherfuckers. It could be some completely, I think he just going to start having just like literally just lashing out of nowhere. Once his podcast start getting like 200 listens, once that shit start dying, he gonna be like, I remember the days when we was really running numbers up. Things was going good. But regardless, I'm gonna be good.
That nigga Joe Budden fired.
Fuck Rory and Mal. You know how they used to be like, Parks is here, Rory is here, Mal is here, my friends are here.
Yeah.
His final podcast gonna be like, I'm Joe Budden. Nobody's here. Fuck Parks, fuck Rory, fuck Mal. What's the other ones?
You gotta say
Fuck
Vaughn.
say Vaughn.
That's funny.
Oh man.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah,
stuff.
Rory and Maul got some deal too, so shout out to them. They got some deal.
Yeah, it was serious, I think.
It was serious, yeah.
I think that's cool. They're just like paving the way because podcasting is getting so big that you know you don't even know. We don't even know. Like even like Facebook has been announcing that they are you know, you could post your podcast on there. But I'm just like, yo, when is Facebook gonna start? Facebook got enough money to do what they want to, and I think that they probably shy away from certain things because they just don't care. Because they just announced that Facebook is changing the name to Meta.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, so I don't think podcasting to them is just like
something extra.
It's a fly. You know what I mean?
Like
they're not worried
roll.
about. Yeah, they not worried about no freaking podcasting. But if they did have some sort of division, they could throw some bags at people and just have like the visual content of.
Man, I know we could get paid. I'll tell you why. But I don't know if it had to be like, you know, content like Country Wayne. Did you know Country Wayne was getting $300K a month for a while? So you paying Country Wayne $300K a month? They could pay some content creators, but the only thing is content creators like me and Keith wouldn't get paid through Facebook because there's so many things we say on here, it would not align with that platform. So we would have to. I think you know who needs to start having podcasts. Think about it. Who needs to start having podcasts on their platform?
You mean like them actually funding it and paying for it?
Well, them just I guess them having exclusive podcasts.
YouTube?
Netflix.
Oh, Netflix, yeah.
Netflix needs to have podcasts on there. If you put podcasts on there in this whole other category, exclusive Netflix podcast, god damn, that would be dope. Because this is the same I think what we do would align more with Netflix. You know, the same place that houses Dave Chappelle specials can have podcasts like this easily on there.
Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that. And then
it's not live, obviously, so it will work out.
I think the only question or the only concern I would have is that there's no audio element to it. So, you know, podcasting at its bare bones thing is just a audio medium. But obviously they could just broadcast the video, but I think that most of the platforms that have podcasts on them, there's maybe YouTube. YouTube doesn't have a purely audio.
That's not a big hurdle to jump.
I'm just saying I think they're one of the only one. Like if it was on there, it would be such a separation between the audio and the visual. And it's not a big deal, but it is just something that I was thinking about.
Man, you better show your face. You want to get them racks. I'll be on that motherfucker. Like we're doing this right now on YouTube. YouTube ain't giving us no bag.
Niggas don't even watch us on YouTube.
Yeah, niggas ain't really fucking with us on YouTube. If you guys made it this far on the podcast, man, please go to YouTube. Please pray for us. Pray for us and go to YouTube, man. Like, SoundCloud's doing good, man. SoundCloud's doing decent. Hey, and shout out to San Francisco. We had a spike in listenership from San Francisco. I just seen it today. I'm not sure who's listening out there, but it's a lot of y'all, man. We appreciate you. Share it with a friend, tell a friend to tell a friend, and head over to YouTube and subscribe to the podcast, man. We drop every Wednesday, and it's new content every week for the past, how many weeks now? Like 10?
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Been about 10 weeks.
I literally get dressed for 5 people to watch me, so please go over to YouTube. I'm not saying I'm the flyest nigga ever, but I put some clothes on. I try to iron my shirt and whatnot.
Something, man. We try to do something for y'all. You know, it's tired of being, these attractive black men that don't get no views. It's crazy, man.
How you a sex symbol out here and 5 people watching you?
Yeah, man. Just go to YouTube, man. I'll put my pants down. Just please go to YouTube. I'm fucking around, man.
We need some titties as the thumbnail every time we drop.
Right, and the titties won't even be on the video.
Yeah, it go straight from there to.
Yep. Just put a big breasted white woman on there, and they'll be like, "Oh fuck, what is this?" Something tells me I need to click on this video, and then we'll be like, "So yeah, like what we were saying, like candy corn is disgusting."
That's crazy.
All right, switching gears. Recently, we checked out a special, or I had Keith check it out because I seen it on Netflix, of all things we just talked about. It's called Colin Kaepernick, was it called Colin Black and White?
Colin in Black and White?
Yeah, Colin in Black and White. And it's Colin Kaepernick, right? And there's an opening scene on the first episode where Colin's just, talking, running the show down, and he shows, like, the slave trade and, like, the NFL combine, and he, like, draws a comparison. And... honestly, yeah, I don't know where that came from.
You gotta wrap this thing up.
Yeah, we got to, man. It's getting late. I don't agree with the take. There's some validity, but there's not. Obviously, because the NFL is a choice and you get paid a lot of money. But he compared it based on the measurables. How they measured slaves and had them. Whether they were able-bodied or not. I guess that there's a he drew a parallel between those two things. So no, I personally don't agree with, the whole slave trade and the NFL thing, but there is some validity to how the comparisons went with the slave trade and how players are evaluated during the combine. Mm-hmm. That was just the very beginning.
Yeah, I think that he didn't really make a statement about it. He just showed the comparison.
Yeah, that was
I think it, it's open for interpretation. Mm-hmm. But I think the reason I don't like when people currently try to, like, steer away from, like, the comparisons to slavery is because, like, slavery is illegal now. You know what I mean? So back then it was legal. And it's the same thing with, like, the 13th Amendment, right?
Right.
So I think that's the most point. And Ava DuVernay, who was the co-creator of this show, created that documentary. So I think she's kind of very aware of, like, the parallels in the modern day world to slavery. But the reason, like, I don't like when people kind of completely dismiss it, and you can have your own opinion about it, like whether it's valid or not. But I don't like when people completely dismiss it because, one, it's illegal now, and two, there are, like, it's not directly slavery, but there are comparable things that happen in today's society that happened in those times, right? So even if me not necessarily being a person that does this, but people that are, like, working in the field, right? I don't know if you've ever seen, like, a video. I've seen videos of them where they're, like, picking the strawberries, and because they get paid by the case instead of getting paid by the hour, they're just running back and forth. Forth. So that type of stuff is not, I wouldn't say that they're slaves, but I would say that some of that behavior is probably comparable to what, people were going through when they were enslaved.
Yeah. Ultimately, too, there's a lot of good takeaways from watching the show. Because it's like, how many episodes were there?
6.
There's 6 episodes. Mm-hmm. So my takeaway was this. I don't want to jump all over the place, but I might. But what I took from it is Colin was just basically giving his life experience, and I don't like to invalidate anybody's experience. And what's different about it, too, is it's not so much the black experience. He's a biracial kid. So me and Keith can't really relate so much because he had another element. Being biracial and adopted are two things that me and Keith can't relate to. So he had a lot of things that he dealt with growing up that were different. One of them that I took away was, once Colin started leaning towards his culture, which was black, even though he was biracial, there was a lot of road stops because there was no one in his home that could really help him reach to those roots. And although his parents loved him to death, they didn't understand it. They were completely, like, oblivious to black culture. And it proved that people could be not racist and everything. His parents loved him to death, but even they said some things that were very off-putting. Mm-hmm. To make a long story short, at the very beginning, Colin started leaning. His hair was getting real wild and long, and obviously being biracial, he got a big biracial afro.
A big biracial afro.
So one of his teammates is like, "Oh, you need to get that braided up," or whatever, or just one of his friends, "You need to get that braided up." So eventually, he links up with this girl that braids his hair. She lives kind of in the hood. And when his
he
mom,
just pull up on his bike.
yeah, and once his mom, and he said that whole city of Turlock didn't really have no black people except there was one part of town that did. Mm-hmm. And when his mom came and picked him up, she just was like, "What are you doing here? Like, when are you gonna stop this?" And she thought it was just a phase, but like being black ain't a phase.
Yeah.
So basically, after that, there was all kinds of things that went on. He played baseball, and his coach seen his braids and was like, "That's just unprofessional. He needs to cut that off," and this and that. While his white teammate had long hair sticking out of his hat, and it was not a problem.
Yeah.
But you have to realize that when you are the predominant, let's say, for example, you switch the roles and it's an all-black town and it's a white kid, there's going to be things that black people don't get about that white kid. That they're not going to get, like, why his hair is like that, or why is this like that, or why does he do this or this or that. The same way with a town that's predominantly white, and they're trying to figure out this biracial kid that wants to look like Allen Iverson, right? Not knowing that, telling a kid to cut his hair is fucked up. That it never was a rule until you decided it was a problem. And then his mom one time even said that you need to cut that off. You look like a thug. And although his mom wasn't racist and she loved him, that was a very off-putting thing to say to a kid. And there's a lot of situations where his parents didn't even know how to defend him when things were happening because they were so oblivious. Like we talked about on here, where it's a lot of situations where white people not racist at all. They're just culturally clueless. So if something's happening to one of their friends, they don't even know what's taking place. And the same thing can happen with, like, let's say I got a homegirl. Let's say it's 1996, and I got a homegirl, but she's a friend, and that's it. And some dude is saying something disgusting to her, and I don't even think it's disgusting because, as a man, I don't see a problem with it, right? But he is literally saying some really fucked up shit to my friend, and I don't even know how to defend her because I've kind of appropriated the disgusting behavior of that person already. And Colin went through a lot of that. But yeah, I'm sure I'm missing some shit here, but there's a whole lot more in this show.
Yeah, I think that hair thing is, it's, and even in the show, they're playing that song. I forget the name of the song, but they're playing a song that references like hair and stuff like that. But the hair thing is such a big deal for, I guess, this black versus white society that we have. And even in there, they have and I think it happens in a later episode, but there's a guy in there with dreads, and he's doing this like is like this fictitious interview or whatever. Oh yeah. And he's like, "Hey, you have some really interesting hair," and he's like, "Yeah,
exotic hair."
Yeah, he's like, "Yeah, it's just dreads. You've seen them before or whatever." And he's like, "Oh, will you be wearing that here in the workplace?" And he's like, "Yeah, like these are my dreads." So, and then eventually they kind of come to terms and they shake hands or whatever. But it's one of those things where as a black person, it's like only a handful of hairstyles are acceptable for us, And I know even my girl's brother, like they were trying to make him cut his hair at his job, and I don't know if he ended up doing it or not. He had like pretty long dreads, but it's always this battle, and even like they had that screenshot of when you Google like professional hairstyles, and it is like a bunch of pictures of white people, and then you could probably Google unprofessional or thug or whatever the case, and there's braids and dreads and all this kind of stuff. So it's always been this battle, and for us as black people, we're like, yo, this is literally just an expression of of me in the form or in the shape of hair. You know what I mean? But they're looking at it as like, if it's not a low cut, if it's not a bald cut, if it's not waves or whatever the case may be, it's something that is related to you being a criminal or something like that.
Oh yeah, back in the day, they would have said very blatantly, like, when I was in high school, no do-rags, no white T-shirts.
Yeah, I remember the do-rags.
And it's like...
no hats in the club. And all, I mean, that's something different.
That's different, but like in school, they had no do-rags. Do-rags are something that black men or black kids use exclusively to put over their head to develop a wavy look to their hair. It's not like it's a gang member or gang affiliated thing, but they literally outcasted, or they did not allow people to wear wave caps at school. So you couldn't wear do-rags, which is like, okay. Like, I mean, usually you wear those to sleep anyways, but it's like, yo, I don't get the problem with that.
Yeah. I remember even when I was working at La Mina, and my hair was pretty, I think it was more of my facial hair. But whatever the case may be, I was a bouncer. Like, why does my like aesthetic matter as much as, you know, a person serving drinks or whatever? But the lady there, she was like, hey, like, you know, your hair is getting a little bit wild. Like, can you trim it down? Can you take care of that? And it's just like, it's one of those things where, and I can't reference how anyone else looked in that situation, so I'm not going to compare it to anybody else. But I know for a fact that the way that people look at us when it comes to long hair and, you know, different hairstyles, it looks very different on us. And it's always, there is always going to be this judgmental, like, act connected to it, whether it's like, hey, it could be literally the same type of hairstyle as the person next to us, but it's like, hey, can you trim up your hair? Can you cut your dreads off, or can you do this or do that? But it's just like, it's when you really, you know, and I just wish there was more of, and I hope this show does that for some communities, but I wish it was more dialogue connected to it. Like, why, and not that J. Cole's a successful rapper, so it's never going to happen. But instead of like, and this is not literally a real thing, but if he was going in for a job or something like that, say he did have an experience like Colin Kaepernick, and he did grow up in a way where he was judged, but he was like, yo, I am on my dad's side or whatever. They grew up in Haiti or they grew up in Jamaica, so I wanted to, you know, show my appreciation for the culture, and that's why he grew his dreads. And here goes somebody judging him, calling him a thug or calling him whatever the case may be. But there's never a communication as to why this person has the hairstyle. It's always just the judgment.
Yeah, one thing that, and the thing is this too. There was a thing that he was at the pool, like poolside, and one of the like managers or somebody came up to him and he's like, hey, you got a minute? He's like, well, you say you're welcome to come back anytime. You're one of the good ones. That's what he told him. And then Colin was like, or Colin, young Colin in the show was like, what do you mean one of the good ones? He's like, you're not acting like those other ones out in the lobby. Yeah. Right? Basically subliminally telling him like, you're not acting like those other blacks out there. Yeah. And he was like, I don't get what that means. And then the guy said, you don't have to get mad about it. Yeah. And he wasn't even mad. Yeah. So what it is there's this assumption of how you're going to react or how you're going to behave. And I'll say this much. And nobody could really no one can quantify my experience. I think there's some black people that get mad at people because people don't get it, but like, dog, white people don't understand everything that triggers you or has went on. Like, they're not black, so you can't expect for them to understand. Yeah. But I think that this, like, giving these examples on the show is pretty decent. It gives you a decent idea of what somebody like Colin went through. Or for me, example, like being a big black guy, I'm not going to be somewhere yelling and screaming because I know it's going to get way more. How it looks. It's going to get way more attention. It's going to get way more attention. It's going to be like, okay, this guy's angry. He probably has a criminal record. There's going to be all kinds of different assumptions made. Yeah. It's not going to be like, hey, this guy's just a pissed off customer. It's going to be like, this guy might have a gun or he might be trying to rob this place. And that's what happens. It's kind of like, I don't know. Like I said, it's a little bit different too because me and Keith are black and Colin's biracial.
But I think that's like what you're saying. It's you almost have to be like hyper aware, and I think that's the maturation that Colin had in the show too, where he's like, you know, when he was a little bit younger, he thinks he can go and get the ice cream again like everybody else.
Right. You got to watch the show to make sense of what Keith just said too.
Yeah. So there's a moment where he goes and gets like a bowl of ice cream, and then he tries to go back again like everyone else in the little hotel or whatever, and the lady's like, "Oh, you already had one," and he's like, "Yo, but everybody else got one already too." He's like, "But you already got one," and basically she kind of shoots him away. But I think like what happens with us is being like, you know, not fully black, but
stick
fully
out.
black. Yeah, no, that's not my point. But my point is that when you have these experiences, you become hyper aware of how you're moving, right? So for me, when I'm driving my car at night, you know, I'm making sure I'm on my P's and Q's. I'm making sure I'm not driving too fast. I'm coming to a complete stop because you just don't want to be caught up driving down California at, you know, right after the podcast. And we do it a little bit earlier now, but, you know, back in the day when I would leave your house, it might be like midnight or 1 in the morning. So you just want to be like on your P's and Q's, or even, you know, like even when we come in here, just making sure you're presentable, and not even for our own purpose, but to make people around you feel more comfortable, which is kind of like a terrible way to live life.
Yeah, it is. And what also sucks, but it's true also, is like when I go out in the world, look, it's only 13% of black people in America. It's not that many. So when I go out into the world and go to certain places, or, you know, if I'm presenting myself or the company I work for or whatever, I don't just do it for me. I do it for people who look like me. You know what I'm saying? So when I go in there, I've had situations, and here's a comparable thing. I've had this happen a million times, where I'll see a group of people talking to each other, maybe be some white dudes or whoever, and they'll just be having a professional conversation, you know, just regular. And then I come up, they be like, "Hey, what's going on, my brother?"
Yeah.
Or they'll be like, "Hey, my dude, what's up, bro?" But I've seen you shake hands with those dudes regular. And
now tell the Jackie Robinson story.
Well, no, I'll get to that right now. But the thing about it is those subtleties. And it's not like, and I can't even accuse the dude of being racist. I can't say the dude that did that was racist. That would be kind of overreach. But what I can say is he treating you different based on the fact that you black.
Yeah.
They feel like they got to try to be extra. But what I will say is this, though. I remember I was at work, and this dude walked in, and I guess he had seen that movie 44, right?
42.
42, my bad, damn it.
I'm talking about presidents.
Yeah, that movie 42 with Jackie Robinson. And he said, "It's a great film." I said, "Yeah, it is. It's a damn good film." And as I was about to leave, he was just like, "It ain't right what they did to Jackie Robinson. It ain't right. It ain't right what they did to him." And I'm just thinking like, "Oh, okay. Hey, you have a good one, man." And I left. But it's like, yo, I'm not going to sit there and have this open conversation about black despair with some dude I never met.
Yeah.
It's almost like, and it's like, I get it, man. It's okay. But what I'm basically trying to get out is the awkwardness you get from some white people that are not racist. We talked about this like on an episode ago. I don't like getting into all the racial conversations, but when we watch something, we feel like we kind of need to express it.
Yeah. They call it, and they coin the thing about the show too, which is cool, is they coin microaggressions.
Yeah.
And then they speak about it and they give different examples. So I think essentially what we're saying is like we have experienced some of these same sort of like things too.
But that wasn't a microaggression. That was like,
according by definition though.
Really?
Yeah. I forget what the real definition of, we could look it up. But it's not necessarily being aggressive.
Right.
It's also being like almost like a subliminal like undertone of like racism. Yeah.
Yeah. That wasn't racism at all, though. I think that he was talking about Jackie Robinson. I think the whole microaggression thing really applies to people that have the racist undertone. But what I mean is like Colin's mom. When she went into that place, she was just so like shocked. She was into that black store with all the hair products and shit. And then the girl said, "You ain't ever been around this many black people, have you?" And she was like, well, it's not that big of a deal. And when she was trying to find out how she could get Colin's hair braided, she went up to 2 black people at her job, and she expressed it so horribly, but they wasn't tripping on her. She said, "You know that like when black people do that thing where they have those things coming out the back of their head and it looks like a snake or something like that?" And she said, and then they was just like, "What the fuck? What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
And then she showed him a picture of Allen Iverson, and then she was like, "Oh, you mean braids?" She's like, "Look, I know somebody." Yeah. But it just shows how much we never go into the world of the people we live with. Like when I'm blessed that I grew up around a lot of people. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm blessed that I was able to have a lot of friends when I play football, white, black, Mexican, a bunch of different people, but not just be teammates, but actually go to their house, actually go to birthday parties, actually go to the club, actually be friends, actually know their grandmas, their grandpas. When you actually have these conversations, you don't have that racial awkwardness. Mm-hmm. Hey, this is to all the people, to black people out there, white people, Mexicans, Asians, whoever. The next time you have a party and you look around and you see all Asians or you see all Mexicans or you see all black people, ask yourself, why is it every time you have these occasions, it ain't never nobody else there? Get around other people, yo. Like, get around other people. Start to dabble in other people's cultures. Learn how to be around these people. Because you don't want to be 35 years old and this the first time you've been to a black party.
Yeah.
And then now you in there saying dumb shit around black people. Am I invited to the cookout, y'all? Can I get an amen? Can I get a hot tub?
Period.
It's like, can you shut the fuck up? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? There's that racial.
It ain't right what they did to Dave Chappelle.
It ain't right what they're doing to Dave Chappelle.
Get out of here.
I think they're trying to destroy the black man. I really think they're trying to. And then now you're pandering to black people because you don't know what to do. And
yeah.
It's like, yo, you ain't got to do none of that shit. Just learn how to get around people, and you could avoid this shit.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. I have the definition here. It says a microaggression, a statement, action, or incident regarded as an instance or of indirect, subtle, or unintentional discrimination against members of a marginalized group such as a racial or ethnic minority. And then it says a second definition, indirect, subtle, or unintentional discrimination against members of a marginalized group.
Yeah, I would redefine. I won't say redefine, but I would define.
Oh, this nigga changing the Webster dictionary.
No, I'm not redefining. I would define the instances that I've had with white people that said shit like out of nowhere, like it's wrong what they did to Jackie Robinson. That's not racism at all. That's just cultural cluelessness. Mm-hmm. That's probably somebody that's not racist at all. They just cool.
They just don't know how to talk to black people.
They just don't know how to deal with other cultures. And this don't just exist with white people, because there's some black people that live in the South with nothing with black people, and then they come out to California to like a cousin's house and they see like a white girl and they be like, y'all got them out here? Y'all got them white people out here, man? Stay away from them, man. They trouble, man. You gotta
sleep with your cousin.
Gotta stay with them white girls. Stay away from the white girls. They'll sleep with your brother, man. Mm-hmm. What was it? There was some black dude that said that.
Who?
He had some crazy experience about white women. He said something like, stay away from white women. They'll sleep with your uncle. He'd be like,
a lot of old heads be thinking that, though.
Yeah, it's like, dude, and what it is because you had one experience with one white woman in your whole life, and now you judge every white person based off of that one experience from that white girl that ran off on your ass in college.
Yeah.
It's great because you don't deal with white people. So now you are, every white person you see on TV, you better turn that off. Better turn that off. Them white people on TV, they're going to get you. That's the devil, man. Don't watch that.
Yeah.
It's sad, man. It's sad that we are that oblivious living in the same motherfucking country. Mm-hmm. And you know who get it the worst in regards to like people being oblivious about their culture? Asians. It could be somebody that's Filipino. They'd be like, what part of China you from? Like, they from the Philippines, motherfucker. They're not Chinese.
Yeah, they're not from China.
It's all kind of different Asian cultures, Philippines, Japanese.
Also, like people from the Middle East.
Yeah.
So you got Iran, Afghanistan, and all these different countries out there.
And they're actually
India.
considered Asian.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I mean, they all kind of get clumped as Indians or whatever, you know?
So, like, I ain't trying to be racist or nothing, but, like, did you work at 7-Eleven when you was a kid? And they were like, what? Like, so you Muslim, right? And they'd be like, no, I'm Sikh. What you Sikh what? Mm-hmm. Sikh is the religion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, it's like, yo,
it's a lot. But I think the best thing you can do for yourself is not try to assume. Like, if you're curious about what's going on,
ask a question.
That's one thing. Yeah, because it's I won't say it's too many cultures, but it's a lot of different people out here. And sometimes you may never run into them. Like I had a friend I was seeking in junior high, but that was the first time I had heard of it, and then I don't know too many people now. Like I don't communicate with them on a regular basis. So, but I think the trouble that sometimes we run into is just like the assumptions that we have, and these kind of awkward conversations, or just trying to act like you know something about a culture when you really just have like this basic level of understanding.
What's crazy is we live in a world where you could know of something if you wanted to know Sikh. I think it's spelled Sikh. I believe so.
Yeah.
Don't want to assume that, but if you wanted to learn more about the culture, there's this thing called Google.
Yeah.
There's a thing called Google. There's documentaries. There's all kind of things. And there are people that live here. There's a decent size a Sikh community out here in Bakersfield. There's a parade that goes on. I forgot what time of the year, but it's a pretty big one, actually.
Yeah. Seek and you shall find.
Like I said.
No, one thing I will say, though, I think I'm a fan of Colin Kaepernick, obviously, because he played for the Niners, and he just kind of had this underdog story and stuff like that. But I think that it gave this like a perfect capsule of not only why we all do like what we do and how it's generally generated from your experiences, the people that you interact with, the stuff that you watch growing up and all this kind of stuff. But like, you literally got to see why he chose football over all of the other sports that he was really good at. Because he played basketball and he also was a pitcher. Like, when he was playing for the 49ers, threw an 87-mile-an-hour fastball and some freaking jeans. You know what I mean? He was throwing 92-mile-an-hour fastballs in high school. Just a scrawny kid. He didn't have no muscle on him either. And even being drafted, out of high school, I think to the Chicago Cubs. But what you see in the film is that, like, I think he found a home with football. It seemed like baseball, and even Bakersfield is in the thing. But he's playing this tournament in Bakersfield, and he's going to these different hotels. He's having these different microaggressions and these different people touching him and grabbing him, and all these different experiences with the staff at these hotels. And you could gradually see how he was super excited, when baseball season started. And by the time it got like however many, he
was tired of it.
Yeah, he didn't even want to wake up, or he didn't even have the same enthusiasm about waking up, because he just experienced so many different levels of discrimination when he was, in hotels and at the games and stuff like that. So with that being said, like, essentially we could have missed out on like a Kershaw or a Bumgarner or any of these like great pitchers because of all of the discrimination that he faced.
One of them,
baseball.
They told one of them that in order for him to be a pitcher, he needed to be white passing.
Oh yeah, that Negro League. That, like, he was supposed to be the first player in the Major League Baseball or in the major leagues prior to Jackie Robinson.
Right.
That would have been an interesting conversation. I forget dude's name. It was like something Robinson or something like that. Yeah. But that would have been an interesting conversation with that white man. Like, it ain't right what they did to Edward Robinson, man.
Yeah. But yeah, man, it's I encourage everyone to watch it. Even if you hate Colin Kaepernick, you don't like him, you feel like he's anti-American, just watch the documentary. It's just like when it comes to Dave Chappelle. Like, it's people that only watch fragments of it just so they could be, just to confirm their bias against Dave Chappelle. And there's so many people that I don't agree with that I listen or watch what they make. And then I'll tune out eventually, but I don't like to form a whole opinion on people just because I don't want to cancel the whole person's existence. Yeah. Because that's too easy to do. So I encourage people, man, make it past that first episode, watch it, see what he's putting out. And some of it'll make sense.
Yeah, I think for for everybody, though. For people that don't understand why he took a knee, for people that hate him for taking a knee, for people that are, see him as a peer or as a fellow black man, I guess, for black people. But then also there's a whole entire biracial experience that is never really shown on television.
That's true, yeah.
So there's so many people, like my girl is mixed, and then my cousin, she was on Instagram talking about it, how, essentially she just felt so heard or felt so seen as far as like somebody articulating the biracial experience in America. So I think, on that level, it's just something in there for pretty much everybody.
Yeah.
But and I think the thing about it too is like, as far as a motivational tool, there's something in there for you as well. Like just kind of that underdog story and getting being so focused on playing quarterback and being a successful quarterback that you're turning down millions of dollars from Major League Baseball teams. But one of the quotes that stood out to me, like outside of all the racism and the discrimination and stuff, is this quote. He said, "Rejection is not failure; it's a calibrator." So it's something that, like, him getting so many no's and coaches, like, saying you're not good enough to play quarterback.
You said that Colin said that?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's a great quote.
Yeah. So, just getting so many no's and going to camps and them not offering him scholarships and stuff like that, like, essentially motivated him to getting to a Super Bowl, which is the highest heights of, the NFL, playing in the NFL. And I think, like, just hearing that and kind of like understanding like the way we operate and the way that I operate as well, like, it's a lot. And you have this like Rolodex of situations where you got slighted, where, somebody may have jugged you on a payment, or somebody may have, went with somebody else when it came to a certain project, or they stopped communicating with you, and all these different things. Like, you just kind of use that as use those rejections as motivations to just keep going. So that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, man. I don't have a whole lot else to add on to that. Mm-hmm. I feel like I missed something. There was an important scene that we missed. It was the CHP stopping him. Mm-hmm. They had been driving from Turlock to Palmdale during baseball season. I guess it was a tournament. And the two times it shows his dad driving and whatnot, and they're smiling, driving down the road. They see a CHP, they wave, and they keep going. And then finally, Colin has his permit to drive. They let him drive. This time, CHP pulls him over. He gets off his bike. He looks like he walks towards the car in an aggressive manner. And he's like, "You guys all right?" And he was talking to Colin's parents. And he wasn't talking to Colin. Mm-hmm. And then he says, "Oh, here's my permit." And he tried to reach for his permit. He said, hey, slow. And the cop backed up and had his hand on his gun. And his parents was just like, whoa. It's like, oh, it's okay. Like, he's just whatever. And they basically, to make a long story short, Colin was horrified, but they just basically said, "Oh, guess you got your way out of your first ticket."
And just walked off.
That's
crazy.
They didn't realize what had happened at that moment. What had happened is he had been stereotyped. He had been profiled. Mm-hmm. And when you talk about racial profiling, it pisses a lot of people off, because they're like, man, we are getting so tired of hearing about police profiling. The cops have a tough job, and they don't profile people. And if people didn't commit crimes, like, there's such a simplistic response to racial profiling. Do I think police are racial profiling every time they pull over a black person? Fuck no. Not at all. But I do think that they do racial profiling, because I'm living proof. I've been pulled over so many times for no reason, with no merit, that it makes no sense. Mm-hmm. Me and Keith been pulled over together, and with two cops, and the cops say, "So where you guys going?" I was like, "To the gym." And he looked at my license. He didn't even run it. He looked at my license and he said, "All right, you have a good one."
But also, like, why are you taking my ID?
Yeah.
I'm not even driving.
Yeah. But these are the things that happen when you, especially when you live in mid city or in a lower end part of town. A lot of cops, especially then, just assume you don't know your rights. You know, in their mind, they might assume like, hey, you know, they're lucky we don't arrest them. And it's like, I don't fear arrest. I don't have any criminal record. I've never committed a crime in my life. You know, I have, but it wasn't.
You sped once. I seen that.
Yeah, I was speeding once, and then I took a Hostess donut from the store. But the statute of limitations have. But it's just the subtleties and things that people go through.
Yeah, but yeah. I think one thing that I will say too is like, I think another big part of the show was this very dismissive behavior by his parents. So like I said it before on the podcast, but there's this idea of like building emotional connections, and when it comes to like connecting, the best way to emotionally connect with people, as far as like people you're in relationships with, and not necessarily romantic, just like your parents, your brother, your girl, all these are kind of in the same boat. But what essentially needs to take place in any sort of interaction or any sort of like bid, as they would call it, is if someone is expressing something to you or how they're feeling about something, or they're telling you a story, in order to like connect with them, you need to engage in the conversation. So if, for example, if me and Eddie are in here and I'm like, hey man, the Niners just won today. And he like, yeah, man, like Deebo Samuel's had a good game. And, we just have a back and forth interaction. But for Eddie to be dismissive in that moment would be like, hey, man, the Niners just won today. And Eddie would be like, hey, man, this girl on Instagram got a fat booty. And it's just like completely dismissive of the thing that I was trying to say.
Exactly.
So I say that to say, like, in the show,
fat booty would be a good excuse, though.
That's more important than Deebo Samuel's. But in the show, they kept saying like Colin is, and it may be a personality thing. It doesn't necessarily have to be anything wrong with him. But in the show, they're saying like Colin, he's just so quiet and he's just to himself. Like he doesn't tell us about anything. He's not telling us who he's dating and all this kind of stuff. But what happens in the show is that this nigga. Is that when he comes to his parents and he's like, hey, when I was at the hotel earlier, or when I was in the lobby earlier, somebody said this to me, and his parents are like, oh, it's fine, honey. They were just being, aware of their surroundings. Or, oh, it's fine, honey. They're the manager of the hotel. They're just doing their job. That's like dismissing Colin Kaepernick's experience. So throughout the duration of the show, you realize like, as Colin Kaepernick goes on, he's just not even, I'm not going to tell you that I experienced anything. I'm not going to tell you that I'm dating this girl. I'm not going to tell you all these different things because you're just going to try to put some positive spin on it or just completely dismiss my feelings.
I don't even think it's so much them dismissing it. I don't even think they knew where to start.
They're still dismissing it, though. If you're not acknowledging or engaging in it, that's the definition of being dismissive.
But it's hard to dismiss something that you don't even know how to comprehend. That's what I'm getting at. Mm-hmm. So when they can't comprehend that the guy was being racist on the fucking elevator, and then he was like, are you guys okay? Talking to Colin's mom and his dad, but not talking to Colin. And they're like, oh, we're fine. Yeah. And then Colin says, I'm good too. And it's like, what's your deal?
Yeah.
They can't even comprehend anything. So the fact that to say they were being dismissive, I think that they were oblivious, and I think I feel like they really loved Colin. They really did, and they really supported him. But having that blindness of his experience as a biracial kid really made it worse for Colin because he didn't even. It's almost like being in a room that's soundproof and you're yelling and no one can fucking hear you. Like you're screaming, you're banging on the wall, and they're like waving, hey, Colin, how's it going? You're doing good in there. They don't even know where to start. That's worse than being dismissive. Because they can't even comprehend what the fuck is going on with you.
But that's the thing, though. He's telling them his experience. You don't even need,
He really didn't tell them, though. He never got a chance to really get to tell them.
He told them multiple times things that, he told them about,
he said that lady downstairs, what was going on with that? And they dismissed it but the dismissing came from a place of blindness. Mm-hmm. It wasn't so much like they were being racist to me. It was more or less he's trying to explain it. They don't even know how to comprehend it, and they're just trying to find a positive spin. So they thought they were doing something good. You get what I'm saying? They thought they were putting a positive spin on something when in actuality, it was a fucked up situation. Yeah. You know, and being as Colin was something they're not used to, being a biracial child, that's what made it different. Mm-hmm. Now, if it was a white kid, if they had a white son, then it probably would be true. Like, hey, just keep a positive attitude. It'll be cool. But when you have the element of race, it's something that you don't have to deal with. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? You have to deal with that. So how the fuck are you going to know how to deal with that situation? But
I think, I don't agree with that. I think part of it is very intentional because some of the stuff that they were doing in there, like he took a black girl to the prom and she looked at the picture. And that's part of my reason as far as saying like why he's not opening up is because they're so dismissive of all of his experiences. When they open the picture, she's like, oh, this is probably just going to be a phase. And then she tucks it in the drawer.
Yeah, with the black girl.
So I think that some of it is just like this positive, hey, honey, everything's going to be okay. But I think some of that stuff is like, and it may just be like ignorance, but I think some of it is intentional.
Like little microaggressions. Kind of like when he says like, so what kind of girls are you into? And then he pointed at the screen and it was a picture, I think it was Courtney Cox was on TV.
Yeah.
And she was attractive, especially then. She still is now. But it was a Courtney Cox. And like the picture of beauty was always like some white girl.
Yeah.
And then his homeboy, who was a black dude, his teammate was like, man, he's like, you ain't gonna get at that girl. It was some white girl that was throwing herself at Colin Kaepernick.
She said, I'm good at massages. I seen you were cramping her earlier,
I'm
Colin.
really good like at massages. He's like, that's cool, thanks.
You know what's crazy? I think he like, I don't know the actor's mannerisms in like real life, but he kind of had his voice.
He did an amazing job as a young Colin Kaepernick.
Like his cadence and all that.
Talked. Yeah, it was a good job.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, but I think Colin Kaepernick left some details out.
He was definitely smacking some of them white girls.
He was definitely smashing them white girls. He definitely was.
Ain't no way. Yeah. The cheerleaders throwing it at me like that.
He definitely was.
I'm going pro.
Yeah, before he started reading them Malcolm X books, he was smashing white girls.
Oh, yeah, and Brittany Renner.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Who was biracial. No, that happened. She wrote a book about it.
I mean, we don't have proof that it happened.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, that is alleged just because it's in a book.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's hilarious, though, man.
I couldn't even...
Malcolm X used to be messing with white girls, too.
Yeah. Then he got cleansed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he became the
Nation pork,
Nation of
Islam. His hair and all that good stuff. Is that Brittany Renner thing? Was that a college thing or was that?
No, that was like, in the NFL.
Pros? Yeah.
Yeah.
That was before.
Okay.
That was like the Malcolm Little.
Yeah.
When he cleansed himself. He stopped messing with hoes. He got what's her name? Vanessa from the thing.
I don't know.
She works at the radio station, Hot 97.
Oh, you talking about Colin Nessie? Ness?
Yeah,
Nessa?
yeah. So he kind of got with a more articulate.
That's kind of like, it's kind of like cold-blooded the way Colin got with her, though, because she was dating Alden Smith. Nessa was dating Alden Smith.
And she realized that when you look at history and you see this nigga getting DUIs and this man is fighting for, police brutality and stuff, she made an easy decision.
But she was with him before he did the kneeling. Like right before, but he had like, I forgot how longer before it was, but like she was with Alden, broke up with him, and then got with them. So she had to pick a reliable football player today.
That nigga, yeah, I think she made a good choice.
One thing I would request Colin Kaepernick to do is to back up from the screen because his eyes is too close together, man. You're like, your eyes are so close together, man. Back up off the screen, Colin. Fuck.
That was funny.
Yeah, it was decent. It's definitely a decent, 6-part series. I wonder if they're gonna bring back the next one.
It's supposed to be that. I mean, they coined it as a limited series, so that means that was just the only thing.
I wonder if it was just like a test run.
Yeah, I mean that would be dope. I think because there's more stories, of him in college, and I'm sure there's some more stuff going on.
There's a show on Netflix that's like a bunch of little mini movies. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm talking about?
I think
It's like it's all kind of weird scenarios. Mm-hmm. Like a scenario of like Martians that take over the planet, and then they're fighting back, and it's only like 12 minutes. Mm-hmm. Then it's another movie.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Fuck, what is it called?
I know what you're talking about. I don't know. I can't remember. And everything looks different too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a decent little deal.
That would be cool. But man, it's cool. I think, and we'll wrap it up here, but it's cool to see, and like I said, I'm a fan of Colin Kaepernick from his 49er days and stuff, and even watching him a little bit at Nevada, but it's cool to see people kind of move on. And I actually hope that he gets another shot in the NFL. A lot of people think that he has a bigger purpose, but I like the idea of him going back to the NFL just to kind of put a cap on the story, no pun intended.
Yeah.
Like just to get one more go at it, you know what I mean? And he's still working and he loves football, but I think that it's cool to see people be able to start in a certain place and move on and not have, because you know how like we like to say like, oh, such and such fell off. Like, what are they doing now? They working a regular job, or what are it's just so many stories of people going broke and all these different things. I think he's moving on in a way, and he's still doing cool things in the name of his protest and his what he's trying to do as far as uplift the community and bring awareness to certain police brutalities and stuff like that. So I think he's doing good work out here. So shout out to Colin Kaepernick.
All right. Well, we'll wrap this up, man. But before we do, we want to wish you a happy Halloween to all of those who are out there trick-or-treating. Some of you guys are just tricking. I don't know what's going on. But yeah,
so it'll be Monday by the time they eating their candy now.
Yeah, but hey, look, just to be involved in the celebration of Halloween, which I don't really care too much about. Yeah. I just want to make it special for the listeners. Is that too much, Keith?
No, I'm just saying, like, we got to change the...
Why do you have to ruin...
We just got to change the time frame.
Everything we're trying to do with the podcast.
Somebody right now is just eating some Reese's, and they like, oh, I went trick-or-treating yesterday.
Some kid right now is listening to the podcast while eating a piece of candy with a razor blade in it.
Yeah, it's scary out here. Remember that on the anthrax and stuff?
Yeah, all the scary shit they used to tell us.
It probably was one razor blade that some weirdo put in there, and then it just kind of like...
They only hurt one kid, and now all of a sudden, I'm playing.
We can't eat candy no more.
Yeah, man. Remember the days when you got candy and your parents ate all the good shit?
Yeah.
You'd be like,
niggas used to trick or treat with pillowcases.
Bruh. Yeah, I used to put them over my head too. I was poor, so I'd be a ghost and just cut holes out on the fucking pillowcase.
Oh, the worst one is a black kid that just pulled up in jeans and a t-shirt with a pillow and just wanted some candy. Like you're not even celebrating the Halloween, man.
This is how you know a kid is poor. When they show up to school on Halloween and they got regular clothes on, and they just put like a little fake red blood on their face. Just a little red blood.
And it's probably Kool-Aid too, huh?
You know what's weird about society? This is what's weird. I'm going to close it down after this, guys, I promise. We live in a society that talks about violence and how there shouldn't be violence, and we got to stop all this stuff going on, whether it's school shootings or bullying and all of this. But we literally have a holiday where people show up with fake knives and bullet holes in their head and motherfucking people dressed up half naked and all the shit that we say we don't want around. On Halloween, everybody dress up as a murderer.
It's like all the worst, societal scenes, I guess.
Right, and they say, well, don't suck the fun out of the holiday. But it's like, you're going to be advocating for gun violence, right? But the same person advocating for against gun violence will literally dress up as a gunshot victim on Halloween.
Yeah.
So hilarious. But anyways, guns don't kill people. People kill people, so... Gotta let that be known. All right.
Yeah. This is America.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you made it to the end of this podcast, man, we appreciate you. Thank you for listening to a Trucker's Mind podcast. I'm Eddie McGee.
It's your boy K Things.
We're out of here.
Peace.